And we're live.
Evening, all. What is going on? Happy Thursday to everybody. That's right. We are back again. It's Thursday already. We are on Friday Eve. At least if you're in our time zones, you are. Maybe you're already in Friday. But listen, it's PM in the PM. Actually, we can officially start calling this PCMR in the PM at this point. I'll let Mav talk about his new toy, which whatever. He's no longer a console player, so he doesn't want to play with us. He hates console games now, like Remnant 2 and Exo Primal, and he's just doing ultra wide games only now. That's his stick. So, listen, everybody, great night to be here. It is July the 27th, 2023. It is extremely hot where Mav is at in Texas. It is extremely hot where I am in Minnesota. I hope you're all keeping cool. I hope you're all staying hydrated because there's lots of heat waves going on. But we're going to try to get you nice and comfy in here tonight on PM in the PM. We got a lot to get into, not a big news week, but we do have some interesting conversations to be had. Obviously, if you guys took a look at the thumbnail, we're going to have some things to talk about tonight about Xbox and about PlayStation's announcement today and where that leaves everything. And we're going to have a fun time. So buckle up. Get comfy, right? Get nice and cozy in your seats, right? Get your popcorn, get your snacks. Yeah, that's right. I did my little seat dance. Because we're gonna get into this. But first things first, I've got to introduce the latest member of the PCMR, the PC Master Race, the newest inductee into the realm of greatness. That's right, the one, the only, Fun Speculation, aka Mav. What's going on, my PC brother? How you doing?
Not much, man. Apparently, what I've learned somewhat is that if you have a PC that's capable of playing high quality frame rates and games, you're no longer allowed to have an opinion about Xbox, even if you own 6 of them.
Yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah, it's great. So, but yeah, it's awesome to be able to experience some things that I really haven't ever experienced before in gaming recently, with high frames and the ultra wide screens and stuff like that. It's been pretty awesome, man. So I've been enjoying that. I'm still gonna be playing a lot on Xbox, obviously, but if there's a game that's like, well, doesn't quite hit the mark, performance wise, I got an out now. I got options. I got options, bro, and that's what it's all about, So we can talk about the necessity to have those options, right? But I think I'm glad it's there. So it's been fun. I've been playing Diablo the last few days in ultra wide, which has been awesome.
Ultra wide. That's like Mav's new thing. He's gonna get a tattoo. That
says dude, I even went
across his ass cheeks.
Went into the code of like Fallout 4 and Skyrim and like changed them to be able to be ultra wide. All this stuff. It's really cool. But anyway, besides that, still love my Xbox. Still love console gaming, and it will always be my first choice, obviously. But besides that, man, it's just been a lot of gaming and watching you and Jasper and Steele play Remnant too, and get your asses handed to you. And then occasionally I've been diving in with you guys and getting carried for like 30 minutes to an hour or so, and then I'm like a lost puppy, and they're just like, "Come on, Mav, let's go." All the bodies are just falling in front of me, and I'm in a maze, and I don't know where to go, and then I get there, and it's like, okay, that was fun, guys. Thanks for having me along for the ride.
Sounds kind of like Diablo.
True. I did restart my Diablo character.
Yes, you did.
I started season 1 with the barbarian, and I wasn't feeling it. What a boring ass class, dude. I gotta say, that class sucks. They need to rework it. All of his moves are just like this. Like, how exciting. Come on.
Yeah, Jasper had a good time with it because he uses shouts and Everything
Yeah, I
else.
used all the shouts, but it's like like yeah, that's
What
really
did you
mixing up
think,
the
Barbarian?
gameplay style.
You wait. Hold on. I have to stop you. You played for how many hours with Jasper watching his Barbarian? How could you not know what he was playing like?
I don't pay attention to what your guys' moves are. Like, here's the thing. He's doing all this spinny shit, which was like, I'm like, wow, he looks like a tank that can spin around a lot. It's like he's like a Tasmanian devil when you're playing with him. And I could play that way also, but like then you're just doing one thing constantly also. It's like, you know, do I just like spin around constantly and just do that? And it's, I don't know. It's not for me. Jasper pretty much told me my build was stupid and that I had to only use 2 attack abilities and the rest shouts. And that's the only way to play Barbarian. So I customized it to what he said, and then it sucked even more. So I switched classes to a Druid, and I'm having a lot more fun with the Druid.
I get it. I get it.
I gotta also say the Malignant Hearts for the Barbarian also really sucked too. They didn't really add much to it. At least the ones I've gotten so far.
Watch the Fireside tomorrow. They're gonna make the Barbarian like the greatest thing ever.
Maybe. I'm happy with I'm happy with the Druid, and I'm having fun with it. So
that's good.
But yeah, anybody who likes Barbarian, kudos to you. I'll stick with the more diverse classes.
There's no rules against changing class, man. I just got to give you a hard time because you don't want to play games with us. You'd rather
that's like respec and
change. And change your characters and do all that kind of stuff in Diablo instead of playing with us, but that's fine.
Well, there's only 3-player co-op in Remnant.
Yeah, but we can split up into teams. The game
yeah, sure.
Yes.
You guys are having such a grand old time. I don't want to come. Hey, can you guys split up for me and they carry me through and teach me how to play this game?
I'm jumping in as the third wheel with Jasper and Steel most nights, right? Because I get home late, so I'm just jumping in and then I'm jumping out. I leave before both of them. They're still playing after I leave and go to bed, so it's all the same, man.
That game is fucking hard, bro.
No, it's not.
It is ridiculous.
It's hard. It's hard. No, not on normal level. It's not hard. It starts out challenging, but as you get your stuff leveled up, as you get your powers, as you get your little points and you start putting them into your different categories, right? Your skills, and you start figuring out the classes and you get a couple good weapons, it gets a lot easier. It gets a lot easier. Trust me.
Hard.
Whatever. My God. Chat, what are we going to do with this guy? And yes, Andrew Reeves, it is hot in Minnesota. I saw you ask that earlier. Yes, we do get hot up here during the summertime. We get about anywhere from 2 weeks to a month of extreme heat, normal summers, where it's above 90s for most of the week. We even top out in the hundreds. Today, the heat index was about 105 to 110, somewhere in that neighborhood. We were sitting at about a 95 to 97 air temp. So it was hot. And I sat in my car in traffic on the freeway, which means it was probably about 115, 120. I was dripping sweat. I was telling Matt behind the scenes. I got home and I was like, I got to go take a shower. There's no way I'm doing this show like this. Yeah, we do get hot up here in Minnesota. So yeah, my week, it's been one game. We're just like when Diablo came out, I'm in the rare, at least for me, for Pong, for the Grazer. I'm in the rare circumstance where I'm playing one game, and that game is Remnant 2. Remnant 2 is simply fantastic. I could go on and on. I can talk about the problems up front. There are performance issues with Remnant 2. Especially on console. That's where we've been playing it. Jasper, Steel, and myself. We're all playing on Xbox Series X. There are performance issues. So I think that's been pretty detailed. I think a lot of people have brought that up out there. Again, I didn't play Jedi Survivor, so I don't know how, comparatively speaking, but both Jasper and Steel played Jedi Survivor, and they both said this is better than that. Like, it's not as bad as that. So you will get slowdowns, you will get frame drops. I'm playing on uncapped frame rate in performance mode. I think Steel and Jasper are both playing at performance 60 locked. So, and we've all experienced kind of the same thing. Pretty big frame dips. I mean, there's probably times where it dips into the 30s for sure. Even with VRR on my TV, on my OLED, I can tell when there's a lot of enemies on the screen in certain random areas, it'll do it too. So there are those issues. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. And again, it needs some patches. It needs some work. Gunfire Games, smaller studio. They need to put the effort into it because this is their best game by far. This game peaked the other day on Steam at 86,000 concurrent players. Yesterday was over 75,000 concurrent players, number 8 on the Steam list yesterday. This game has caught a lot of people's attention, and they've got a franchise that is on the cusp of being a major franchise going forward because the game itself is special. This game, the creativity in this game, it has to be played to be appreciated. I know some people have played it and said, "Nah, it's good, but it's okay." Blah blah blah. That's fine. Again, not every game for every person. But if you're going to get into Remnant 2 and you're actually going to start listening to some of the stories and you're going to go through the worlds and explore and find the puzzles and find the secrets upon secrets upon secrets upon secrets, you're going to start to discover that this team is built that game. And you guys all know me. One of the top things I love about gaming, certain genres, is exploration and discovery. This team right here has built a game that is up there with your Elder Scrolls, that is up there with your Elden Ring, as far as exploration and discovery go. There is so much to this game, so many crazy things, so many random things that can happen. They're all handcrafted, but they're randomly placed in the world. And so each playthrough, each run of a level can be completely different from the other one. In fact, I said this last week on a couple of the shows because we started playing last Friday. Jasper, Steele, and I, when we started the game solo, because you got to play the first 20, 30 minutes solo, the opening scene, we all started in a different spot. That's how random this game can be. We all had different experiences starting the game. So you've got campaign mode. We played from Friday. We played every single day, Friday till Sunday night, Monday morning, technically speaking. And we beat the final boss of the game in the campaign, right? So we had about, each one of us was probably over 20 hours at that point. I think I'm at 25 to 28 right now, somewhere in that neighborhood. Steele and Jasper played a lot more than me. They're probably in the 30s. But we beat the final boss, and Mav can attest that the final boss on normal mode, because we were playing in my world. We weren't playing in Steele's world, which is on veteran. We were playing on my world, which is normal. The final boss was no joke. What, Mav, 20 times, 30 times?
I was,
I think it took us
somewhere
in that neighborhood.
I was doing my test for the setup on the stream, and you guys were like cussing at the final boss while y'all were playing. And
well, it was me, because that's when it got to the Dark Souls.
It was point, great, and I know that y'all were in the 20s at least, at probably closer to 30 something.
Probably closer to 30. So for the final boss in normal mode, it was an extreme peak. But again, the game adjusts, and we had the max amount of players, which is 3, right, in co-op. So it does level adjust for that. So the enemies do get tougher the more people you have in the game. But again, creativity-wise, this game is, I described this while we were playing it. It's like a choose-your-own adventure book. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what's going to happen. You come across magic doors that transport you to a completely different place. One minute, you're in the middle of a Resident Evil / Bloodborne town, and you take a door, and the next thing you're in some fey, elvish, gold-gilded castle. That's how crazy this game can get. It's like a big, giant fairy tale. It's got stories upon stories upon stories. It's got decision-making that actually has consequences in how the story develops. And again, you get through the campaign mode, and then you can go back. And you could start over again to go back for the secrets. And they've got an adventure mode, so you can go to specific levels and do things that you need to do. Weapon crafting, excellent. You are going to get a ton of rings with different stat abilities. That's one of the biggest loots, is the rings. You're going to do quests and find different sets of armor, which you got to play with. They've got different, resistances. They got different weights. They got different armor classes to them. The weapons are all different. You have the regular weapon classes, like the regular weapons themselves, which you can level up to, like, I think level 20 or something like that. And then you can also get the boss weapons by defeating bosses, and they give you special weapons, which you can also level up, which come with their own mods. The regular weapons, you're allowed to mod yourself. You start collecting mods. Again, this game is deep. and it doesn't get old because of the way it's set up. It's always exciting. Again, we've been playing since Friday night, each and every single day. Steel, me, and Jasper have been playing this game. Sometimes solo, most of the time together. And we haven't hit a wall yet with it where we've been like, okay, we've seen enough of this. No, no, no. There's still so much more to do. The devs came out last week and put out a post that said some of their internal team has nearly 400 hours in this game, still has not seen everything. That's the type of game this is. Like, it is insane. And I think, man, now Jasper says personally it's his game of the year. It's moved up on Steele's list as well. He's giving it a solid 9. Now, of course, he's already stated that Armored Core 6 is his game of the year, and it's not even out yet. So that's a different story. For me, Diablo is still my game of the year. Diablo 4 is still my game of the year overall. But Remnant 2 now has moved up as a dark horse, and this is just personal. As a dark horse in the game of the year race, Remnant 2 has moved up that far. I would give it a solid high 8s, low 9s, easier as of right now. Even with the performance issues. That's where the docking comes from. If the performance issues weren't there, this would be close to a perfect 10 for me as far as a game goes. From design to the sound, to the atmosphere, to the music, to the gunplay, to the melee play, to the mods, to the crafting, to the worlds, to the stories, to the quests. This game is freaking amazing, in my opinion. So it's moved up in a dark horse category for game of the year for me. It's something that I think should be in the conversations, and I want more people to experience it. I'm glad it's taking off streaming as more people get to see it. We've had some really, cool nights where, Steele's been streaming it, and, we get an audience in there and people are watching. They're like, wow, this game does look really good. Yeah. And it is. Again, performance issues aside, and I'm not making excuses for the team. It's Gunfire Games. It is what it is. There are performance issues, and I'm not going to ignore them by any stretch because they're there.
Unreal 5 game. Why would it have performance
It
issues?
is Unreal 5. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Why? I mean, that's just the best engine ever, supposedly, right?
Yep, it is supposedly the best engine, but unfortunately it's new, and a lot of people are obviously finding some limitations. They're having hiccups right now. But overall, Remnant 2, fantastic game, phenomenal game. Gunfire Games is an upcoming studio. They took what they learned from Remnant 1, turned it into this, which is on another level. Again, taking that next big step. And with the popularity of this game, if it has legs, and again, they're coming out with 3 DLC in the next year, according to them. If they pull that off and the DLC is as good as the first Remnant, then that they could elevate this game to another level, and they're going to get a third game. And I can't wait to see what this team does with that third game. Because again, this could be a franchise that's ongoing for a very long time after this one. I think that they really knocked it out of the park here. And I can't stop playing it. I just can't get bored of it. It's just fun. It's just fun. It really is. And it's like, wow, it's like there were so many times where we've stopped and been like, what the hell is that? Or what is going on? What are we going to do? Like, what? The puzzles are off the chart. Okay, I'll stop. I can keep going. I love this game. Remnant 2 has been everything. My gameplay, of course, we are coming to the end of July now. Next week, Baldur's Gate 3 goes live. They confirmed today, Larian did, that we are going to have to start our characters all over again, that our saves from the early access will not transfer. So my 20 plus hours there are going to be wiped, which is fine. I have zero problem starting over in Baldur's Gate 3, but I will be playing Baldur's Gate 3 starting next week. I think, in fact, I might take a day off next week to play some more Baldur's Gate 3 on Friday. I might even stream it. We'll see how far I get in that process, but I may even stream it because I'm going to have some fun because Baldur's Gate 3 is looking awesome. But right now, Remnant 2 has come out of somewhere, come out of nowhere, Mav. And we talked about this, and we will continue to talk about this because it's important. If this goes down as one of the greatest all-time years for video game history, which I think currently, as it sits now, everything being equal, it's already top 3. And easy with Starfield, Spider-Man 2, etc. Easy goes over the top. It's those those double A, those games that we didn't expect that come out of nowhere during one of these years and just add to the impressiveness that is this year of gaming. Remnant 2 is one of those that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here we are. And a lot of people are playing, a lot of people talking about it. Sure, the reviews, low 80s, Okay, that's fine. But everybody's loving what they're playing when they jump into this game for the most part. So just incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush
Yeah,
did as
Hi-Fi Rush,
well. There's been
exactly.
a couple games this
Yeah, Dead
year
Island
that
2. Dead Island 2 came out of
already
nowhere.
added to it.
Yep. Yep.
Remnant 2 for me, I think, if I for people that primarily play solo, I wonder if they'll still find as much enjoyment with it as with the co-op. Um, but that's I think up to the player, right?
Yeah.
Up to the
It's up to the player.
individual. But to the creativity of the game, I'll say like that's been the most impressive thing for me so far when I've seen it. Like, I haven't played anywhere near as much as you,
No.
Jasper and Steel, but I've played enough to get a feel for obviously what the game is. And we went through this level, and I had a lot of trouble starting by myself.
Right.
I
Right.
started by myself. You guys were playing,
It's challenging out the gate.
and I had the where they started me at and where I had to go. Like the only path I had to go, there was like one pretty tough guy that I had trouble figuring out. I died like 5 times in a row or something. I was getting frustrated. It's like off the bat, this is ridiculously hard first enemies. Like when this guy, I was like, screw this. And then Jasper came, and he had already had experience playing, already had some abilities on his
Mhm.
weapons, and gotten past that. So he helped, and we got past that part. But then it started opening up. We didn't, and then I started figuring things out. Right. Um, the difference in the types of abilities and attacks that the enemies have add a lot of variety. The issue I was having is when I would get hit by one guy, he would like stun me pretty much,
Mhm.
and then I would just get swarmed, right?
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah, you
like,
can. Yeah, you
off the
can.
bat, okay, it's great. But then he would block your attacks. So like he had this automatic block ability or whatever, and I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, so it took me a while to figure that out, but
Yeah.
once we got past that and stuff, and we got through some really crazy scenes, like there was this like faceless clown guy at a buffet table, right? And he was
Yep.
like, "Oh, here's some food. You should eat it." And it's all this like a rotten, like
I
disease
still
looking
haven't seen that, by
infested
the way.
food, right?
I still haven't had that scene. That's how crazy this game is. I
And me
still have
and
not
me and
seen it.
Jasper were like, "Do we eat the food or do we not eat the
Right.
food?"
Right.
Like,
Right.
because like, what do we do? Like, and we're trying not to fight the guy, the boss, and see if we can get out of it. But there's really no other option, so we eat the
Yep.
food, and then you start puking everywhere and throwing up, and then you get hordes of like monsters coming in the doorways at you,
Yep.
and we have to fight against all of them, and but you can't heal.
Right.
Your health's constantly
Right.
draining because you're
Right. Because
poisoned,
you're sick.
and
Yep.
you can't heal. So then we had to figure out, well, how do we get health? You have to eat more shitty food in order to get health. And there's only like 6 of them. So then we're like,
Yep.
okay, well, if we both eat, does only one of us need to eat to replenish? Because there's only like 6 things to eat,
Right. Correct.
But
Yeah. Divvy it
anyway,
up.
we
Yeah.
figured it
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was pretty fun. I mean, just crazy random scenarios like that will
Yes.
happen, and that's the creativity of the
Oh,
game, because
off the charts.
it takes like it's just randomness of like the
Right.
thought process. What would be
Yep.
fun to create? Oh, let's just make this like crazy looking faceless clown dude who makes you eat like poison food,
Right.
and then have a bunch of
Right.
enemies swarm you while you're throwing up. That'd be fun.
Yep. Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
okay,
It's
cool,
it's
make it. Yeah, that's a
it's
great idea.
it's
I
really cool.
so it's pretty awesome. I do
There's
notice a lot of inspiration from things in this game too.
yes. Yes.
Like there's a level that looks straight out of Bloodborne,
Yep.
right? There's like
Yep.
enemies and characters that look straight out of Stranger Things, and environments that look out of Stranger Things,
Mhm.
and you can
Elden Ring.
tell like yeah,
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring as well.
Yep.
Like you can tell there's like inspiration from Souls type games and other like dark type franchises and stuff like scattered throughout this game, which is pretty cool.
Yes. Yes. It is. And there's the other thing I didn't point out too is you can multi-class, which opens up something else. And originally people only knew, I think originally we only knew of 5 or 6 classes. Right now, there's a total, I think Jasper pulled it the other night. There's 11 known classes right now because there's secret classes that you can open up during the game as well, where you find a certain item for beating a certain boss or completing a certain puzzle. you get an item which you can craft into a new class, and you can mix and match those classes on the fly. You can change your secondary class. You can, there's an option to respec all your points too. You can do that. It does cost, but changing in and out the classes makes a huge difference. They've gone great lengths to make sure that it's fun. Now, not every class mixes together well with another one, but then that adds another layer when you're playing co-op, because your teammates also have mixed classes, and the combined abilities, you can play off of each other, and they got a ton of buffs for your team that are actually useful. Like I started with the handler. So I've got the dog, right? I've got the doggo.
Yeah.
The doggo can heal, right? He's also an attack dog. He does great damage. He's pretty aggressive. It's pretty awesome when I send him out. But during the game, let's say Steel and Jasper get downed at a boss. If my dog hasn't healed me and is on cooldown, I can actually send my dog across the entire boss map to go pick up Jasper or to pick up Steel, and he'll heal them instead and get them up while I'm still running around trying to avoid the boss and stay alive until I get one of my sweaty friends back into the game that could take some heat off of me, right? So that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of buffs that you get as a team too. There's just a lot of different combinations. And again, the weapons are there's so many creative weapons in this game. It's so cool, man. Again, if you're looking for a game, and let me point this out too. $50 for the standard edition. This game has more content than most $70 games do nowadays.
Yeah.
By a long shot. And it's one of the top presentations in a game I've ever seen, as far as the complete world and what you're doing and where you're going and all this kind of. This game is extremely, extremely well priced at $50, and you can get the Ultimate Edition for $70, and you get all 3 DLCs. So they're not trying to rake you over the coals with this one. This is a great game, high value, high replayability, solo or friends. Again, to Matt's point, solo starts challenging, but again, that's the type of game it is, because if you guys watch any of our streams, Mav can attest to it. He's been in more parties with us while we've been playing. Even now, even though we've been beaten, we beat the final boss, even though Steel and Jasper especially have been gathering more weapons, gathering more armor sets. They got a little bit more power than I do. With 3 players, we still get rolled at times. I mean, again, last night we were fighting regular bosses on veteran, and we were having to play 15 times to beat them, right? Or more. Like there was a couple of them when we didn't know if we were going to get through them. So this game can be very challenging, but on solo, on normal level, once you get through the initial onslaught and you start figuring the game out, it does become easier. And I saw a bunch of people in the chat as well talking about that they're playing the game solo. Some have even beat it solo. It's not, because you guys know me, I'm not a Souls guy. The other night I was extremely frustrated when we had to play 25, 30 times against that boss, because I hate banging my head against the wall. I can't stand it. Steel loves it. Jasper loves it. They feel like they've accomplished something. I'm like, why? I don't like it. But for the most part, even when I played solo in my world on normal, I'm having a good time and I'm not feeling I'm beating my head against the wall. It's challenging, but it's not over the top. Like, it's not Souls, right? I know everybody likes to go to the Souls like thing, and there are similarities here. And yes, it can be challenging. And yes, you have to dodge. Yes, you got to learn the boss's patterns, of course. But overall, I don't put this on the level of a Souls game in terms of my own frustration when it comes to this game at all, or anywhere close to it. So again, you're looking for a game. I know there's plenty of them out there. All I'm going to tell you is add Remnant 2 to your backlog if you're not going to be able to pick it up now because you got too much to play. At some point, go play this game. I think you're going to find something you love here. It's that good, and I would highly recommend it to everybody. Go try it. So that's where I'm at with it.
All right, on, man. We do have a $5 super chat from Alvin. Says camera placement is chef's kiss. I know you've been messing with it. Also, yeah, it's hot. It's 98 on the east of Virginia. Ooh. Thanks, Alvin. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out, because I got like different monitors set up that, and I got my camera. I've been trying to figure out, because I can't have it at the exact same position as I had it before. But yeah, thanks, man. Maybe we'll rock with this. Kate said she's going to help me at some point figure out the best place. So we'll see.
I like your setup. So
thanks.
I think you did a fantastic job. It looks great. So
thanks, Mom.
Jealous of your room. Your room is amazing.
Yeah, this
Um,
is if you watch the early episodes of Xbox Ultimate or like my earlier streams, you can see like the room come together over time.
right, right.
But I still
The
got to
only thing
get
is,
that
I
thing out
am
of here.
missing your TV off to the side. Not be able to see
Everybody
your
keeps
TV over
saying
there.
that. I
Yeah,
never have
yeah.
anything on the TV though. It's
I
just
know,
blank.
but it's like a cool background because it's like, oh, Mav's got a TV right there. Like he could put something up there, like
Yeah,
right. It could be like Mister
I
Rogers,
used
right?
to
You could have
actually.
like a yeah. It'd be awesome to have something up there. Maybe you should bring it back.
I used to put stuff on the
Yeah,
TV during some of the shows and
yeah,
streams and stuff. But like, okay, you're the second person, and people keep saying they miss my TV.
yeah. That's the only thing I'll say. But again, your room's fantastic, so obviously, so I love it, man. All right, let's get down to business here, Matt. First of all, we gotta get a shout out to this chat. We got over 120 some people, maybe 130 people in here right now. Thank you all for joining me in Mav. It hasn't been like the high energy week full of freaking news nonstop, but you're all sitting here on Thursday night, hopefully enjoying what Mav and I are putting down. And we're going to get into some topics here and have some good discussions. But I do have to shout out everybody that's joining us. So, Charlie Hustle, what is going on? Great to see you, brother. Seeky's in the house. Alvin, what's going on, brother? The one, the only Laura Master Jasper's up in here. What's going on? 30, Jasper says 30 minutes of Remnant talk. Love it. Yep. You're right, Jasper. You knew that was coming, brother. It's Timmy. It's Timmy's in the house. Talos, Ray, what is happening? The one, the only Mr. Joanna Dark, our resident Nintendo super fan. What's going on, Mr. Joanna Dark? Polly Baba's in the house. What's going on, brother? Void Rat, of course, is here. What's going on, Void? Poison Maniac. What's happening, man? Great to see you in here. Ben Millard, what's going on? All right, Nicholas Lund. Good to see you on a Thursday night, Nicholas Lund. Thanks for joining us. Who else we got in here? We got Calorie. Calorie, what's going on, Calorie? Great to have you a part of our show. As always, the blue one, the fraud one is in here. What's going on, the blue one? Great to see you, sir. It's been a while. We haven't teamed up in a while on Xbox, the blue. Jigga Jay's in here. What's going on, brother? Gabe Itch. I hope you get that fixed, whatever that itch is, Gabe. Great to see you in here. What's going on? Stubborn Cam is in here. What's going on, Stubborn Cam? Who else we got up in here? We've got the one, the only Base Digi or Base Diggy. I don't know which way you go, but I'm going to go Digi because it looks like digital. Move my camera to, oh my God. I was putting up things while I'm trying to read the freaking chat names. I tell you what. Yes. Okay, there. I voted. Now get it out of my face. Thank you. All right. Where did I leave off here? See what he does to me, everybody. Tony Grasso's in the house. What's going on, Tony Grasso? The one, the only Nixie's up in here. What's going on, Nix? Great to see you. RSJ fan, great to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us tonight. Captain Crunch is in the house. One of my favorite all-time cereals. What's going on, Captain Crunch? Great to have you in here.
Thanks for cutting up the roof of my mouth all the time as a kid. Appreciate it.
That is true. That is true. And I didn't like the berries. So you know what? I only wanted regular Captain Crunch. Silent Cypher, the one and only Brian's up in here. What's going on, Silent? Great to see you a part of the show, sir. Thank you for joining us.
He also hit us with a $2 super chat, Pong.
Did he? What did he say?
It says the energy you guys bring is always top notch. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, sir. We try. We're getting older, but we still try to stay up there with the youngins. Let's go. We're gonna get the energy up. The one, the only Big Mad Mo is in here. What's going on, Big Mad Mo? Always great to have you a part of the show. Always good to see your name. Let's see. We got Masshole 1977. What's going on, Masshole? Great to have you in here. We got the legend himself. Peace, love, and life. Mr. Dragon Heart Yobi's up in here. What's going on, legend? Great to see you in here joining us for the evening. Who else? We got the Stubborn Cast. The Stubborn Cast. Let's go. Great to see you in here. I don't know if you've joined us before, but it's awesome to have you a part of our show. Thank you. We got Flappy Folds in here. Flappy Folds, everybody, is in here. What's going on, Flappy? We got the Scorpio in here. What's going on, Scorpio? We got the one, the only Boss Mod Lethal Papa's in here. Be warned, everybody. He is quick with the hammer. So be nice in there. We got Razor NZ all the way from New Zealand. What's going on, Razor? We got Andrew Reeves in here. We got the beautiful Miss Caitlin in here. So who continues to just produce top quality thumbnails, backgrounds, all sorts of things for this channel. Caitlin, you're awesome. Let me see here. Who else we got in here? Anybody else? We got Night Turtle in here. We got General Spark 27 up in here. We got my brother from another Steel Rain is in here. What's going on? Came in here with his usual. Oh, are y'all naked? Steel, it's not past midnight, sir. Hold it. Sean T, what's going on, Sean T? Let's see here. Who else? Who else? Wait, we've got a Nix in here now. Is this the original Nix? Is this Nixie? Did somebody take your name, Nix, now that you changed your name to Nixie? Or are you holding two accounts now? Which one is it? Mitchy Dies a lot. What's going on, my friend? Great to see you a part of the show as well. Let's see if I missed anybody else that's always lurking. John 907I. What is happening? Victor Alistine, one and only. What's going on here? We got the 1970 Chrome Pony. All right, Chrome Pony. Great to have you a part of the show. Punty050. What's going on, Punty? We got M. Gene in the house. What's going on, M. Gene? We got Dr. Funkenstein, Stein, however you want to say it. We got Eastside Vandal. What's going on, brother? Man, look at all these beautiful people in here tonight. We got Astro Vader. What's going on, Astro Vader? Great to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Oh, we got Splendiferous is in the house. What's going on, Splen? Great to see you in here. We got Cyber in here. What's going on, Cyber? I think I've got everybody now, Mav. God, what a crew. What a crew. What an amazing absolute awesome Thursday night. Oh, True Serum. I see you. What's going on, True Serum? Thanks for jumping in here as well. Spooky. Spooky's in here. TBJ. What's going on, Spooky? All right. So let's get into some of Mozam Shikya. Mozam Shikya. What's going on? Great to see you a part of the show as well. All right. Anybody else that's lurking that I didn't get a name across because you didn't pop up in there? Listen, all the same love and respect. Thanks for being here. And Mav and I both appreciate you all the same. So thank you for that. Nicholas Lund, what's going on?
What just happened? Says me.
Yeah, Web Dave, what's going on, brother? Web Dave, I see you sneaking in here, brother. What's going on? Jason Hackett, I see you as well. See, look at all these people, man. God, they're all out here today. Steel, I almost called you.
You all rock. Thanks for watching our content.
Mav. Let's see here. Mav, where do we want to go? What should we start with, sir? We've got a bunch of small stuff, and then we've got kind of a main topic. We've got the community topic, which is so tiring, but it's out there. What do you want to start with tonight? Any ideas where you want to go?
Let's start with the community topic.
Community topic first. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you take this
Twitter
one
topic,
too.
I guess you can say.
Yeah, Twitter topic, the console war topic, whatever you want to call it here. We'll have Mav take this one over a little bit because honestly, I could really give $2 less about this shit. But anyways, it's out there and it's huge and it's big and it's nonstop and it just keeps going. About it. Yes. So something we all knew, something that with not anybody. Everybody. Yes, they did. They were being intellectually dishonest again, or willfully ignorant, as I always say. One of the two.
Intellectually lacking.
Possibly. There's some of that in there as well.
Possibly.
So, guess what, everybody? Surprise. Turns out Ratchet and Clank doesn't need the magic PS5 SSD to run. I know. I just blew your minds because nobody saw this coming.
But context.
Nobody. Context. Right.
Come on. We're all taking this out of context.
Context now. Now, admittedly, there were some people out there on a certain green side that were stating with 100% absolute fact that this game could run on a PlayStation 4, the OG PlayStation 4, without a problem. They did place those bets, man. There was admittedly a subsect of people who did that. But for the majority of people simply stated from the beginning, when this discussion was around, of course, it doesn't need an SSD to run.
And I feel like some people are taking the extreme angle that of the opposite and using it.
No, not in this community. What? Never happened.
So here's the thing. First off, it doesn't matter. Right?
Thank
Oh,
you.
it just doesn't matter. Point blank, period. Second off, the only reason why this is getting brought back up is because of the talking points
Correct.
that happened a couple years ago before Ratchet and Clank originally came out. This is
Correct.
not a new conversation, right? And I feel like some people are trying to make this a new conversation. Maybe they weren't around at the time on social media or like in content creation or any of these conversations back then, but they're acting like, well, this is new. I got to go back and dig and to see what happened, right? Uh, just pointing to one specific instance or one specific article or one specific video. Um, Pretty much a lot of the marketing around Ratchet and Clank originally when it came out was about the SSD and about the portals and going through them. And it's only possible on the PS5 to be able to move this fastly and have these worlds load in that quickly and all that kind of stuff. And this is only possible on because of the speeds of the SSD of the PS5. It can't be done without that, right? Not just saying even an SSD, but even it needed the SSD speeds of the PS5, right? Like there was all that talk and it was marketing, right? Do I blame PlayStation for trying to mislead their players and stuff as selling points and stuff trying to sell people on the PlayStation? No, I feel like Xbox does that. I feel like all companies do that to an extent. It's marketing, right? So I don't necessarily blame them. But what was funny was the people that were leading with that in the community spaces and stuff, talking about how that is evidence on why PlayStation is better than Xbox, and PlayStation 5 is better than Xbox Series X, because a game like Ratchet and Clank could never play on an Xbox Series X. People forget those conversations took place back then, right? There was a lot of people saying, no, it's BS. That it's just marketing speak, right? It's just selling you. They're just saying this to you to get you to buy a PlayStation, right? Which was obvious. And a lot of people saw through that. They were trying to pitch, the power of the SSD and all that kind of stuff. And people that kind of somewhat knew technology and video games and have a history of playing in games where you actually went through portals, several different games and franchises. That this is all just marketing BS, right? So now it's a couple years later. What people that were saying that this was all BS said, come and talk to us later when eventually Ratchet and Clank comes to PC and doesn't require an SSD. That time has come. Ratchet and Clank is playable on PC without an SSD. You can play it with a hard drive. You can play it on an external hard drive. There's been numerous tests out there showing. Now, is it the same experience on every single thing depending on what hardware you have? No, obviously it's not.
Of course not.
But that's the same. That doesn't take away the fact of saying it's only possible with an SSD in the marketing speak and people using that as talking points in a console war narrative back when the PS5 and Xbox Series X were coming out to say why the PlayStation was superior hardware wise because of the super speed of the SSD. And now we have the evidence on the contrary. What everybody said, wait till later when this comes out on a PC with a hard drive and you're going to look like an idiot. And now all the people saying, well, but context, they weren't actually lying to us. They weren't lying. Yeah, they were marketing to you. That's what we told you from the get-go. You're the ones that were lying. You're the ones that were lying. You took the narratives that were being force-fed to you like babies from PlayStation and used it to fuel your console war narrative that never made sense, and it made you look like an idiot. And when you try and claim context now, pointing to the fact that they talked about generations and all these other things, it's continually making you look like an idiot. You are still carrying on this conversation even though you have been slapped in the face with facts and evidence, and you can't say anything about it. Context does not matter in this instance because the words were there all along that not only PlayStation put out, but y'all put out yourselves. That's the point of this. It's not PlayStation lied. It's that you accepted the information as pure fact and then you spread it around to increase the lie. You made the lie. Eat it. Take your loss. It's over. The facts are out there. It's done. That's all I got to say. Pong.
Classic Mav rant. Yeah, like I said, I don't care, but you don't get to claim. Here's what I will say. For you guys who like to continuously war over consoles, over pieces of plastic, over your plastic gods, whatever you want to call it, when you take everything from Xbox out of context and run with it for your own narratives, you don't get to cry foul when it's returned to you. You don't. It doesn't matter if you want to claim context. Yes, I've read the clips. I've read the articles. I've read where they explain further where it sounded like in certain paragraphs they were specifically talking about the rifts and about the rift travel. But again, those weren't the headlines. That wasn't the narrative, as Mav said, that you all decided to run with. It wasn't just about the rifts. You said this was an example of next generation game only that couldn't be done elsewhere, as stated by Sony, as stated by the devs, because of the magical SSD. There's no doubt that the PS5 SSD is fast. Nobody can question that. But you all ran, like Mav said, with different narratives as to why that meant it was so much better. And that obviously Ratchet and Clank just couldn't be done anywhere else. It wouldn't come to PC because PCs don't all have that magic SSD. Okay, again, every time you run with an Xbox story out of context and play your little games, you don't think the other side's not going to do the same to you. So context being what it is, it doesn't matter in console wars. You guys made those rules a long time ago. Now you got to live by them. So again, I don't blame the Xbox community, the ones that like the console war, for coming back at you all with this. But the fact is, like Mav said, at the end of the day, this is marketing speak. This is not the first time. Sony's not the only company that does it. Xbox has done it plenty of times themselves. It's marketing speak. They create buzzwords. They come up with new tech that's supposedly going to change everything. You guys remember the cell processor in the PS3 that was going to change the entire world because it wasn't just going to be used for video games. We were going to see that in refrigerators. We were going to see that in toasters. We're going to see it in vacuum cleaners. We were going to see it in cars. Because remember, it was so powerful that if you hooked up 100 PS3s together, it was more than an IBM supercomputer. Remember all that? I do. Pepperidge Farms remembers. I was there back then. This is not the first or the last time you're going to get advertised to. That's all this business is. So they said something. They pushed out the narrative. This isn't the first game that did that. Guys, remember a little game called Godfall? Do you remember Gearbox saying it wasn't possible anywhere else outside of the PS5 when it was a PS5 exclusive because of the SSD?
Forspoken, also the marketing about that. Remember the original trailer with the console and like super speed zooming to all these different places, and then where's that game?
Correct, man.
Was it Project Aria at the time or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. There was another one in there too. So again, this isn't the first time. It's not going to be the last time. It's going to continue to happen. All companies are going to push their own narratives with their buzzwords or their special tech that nobody else has that's going to change your life. And if you don't realize you're being sold to, then hey, that's on you. You're being sold to.
Yeah,
the fact is, like,
the difference here, though, I feel like with PlayStation and why some of their people ran with it is like the audacity and to actually say that these games are only possible on PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
Where that's a little different from other companies where they use their marketing and their taglines. Like the Xbox was never saying like this game's only possible on Xbox because of velocity architecture.
No,
Or
they haven't
like,
done that. They haven't done that.
you know, like,
They haven't even had
that's the
anybody use
biggest
velocity
difference,
architecture yet.
and them trying to separate the PlayStation as a step above everything else,
Correct.
right?
It's a premium experience,
Right.
right? Again, the Apple does this.
Yeah.
Apple will tout brand new tech that has been in Androids for freaking 10 years. Okay. And they will claim that it's theirs and that they're the first ones to ever do it. And everybody knows it's a lie. It takes 2 seconds to Google this, but they still push it. And their Apple fans eat it up. Oh, we're getting the premium experience. Look at that. We got something that nobody else has in their phones. Okay, sure, whatever. They're reselling you something that Android users have been using for past 10 years. Congratulations. Great. Awesome. Again, we do understand it is verifiable that the PS5 SSD is extremely fast. It was built specifically for this hardware. And again, consoles, being that they only are created to do one thing, play video games, versus the PCs that are created to do a lot of different things, 2 different ways to optimize. And again, that SSD was specifically created to play games, right? To help with games and data transfer. So there's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like Matt said, it doesn't matter. The fact is, Ratchet and Clank does, Ratchet and Clank does run on other things. In fact, it can run off of an SD card, a regular SD card. Now, as proven by the Steam Deck, it's Steam Deck verified, for God's sakes. Are you getting the exact same experience as the PS5? No. But that doesn't change the fact that it's being played elsewhere outside of the PS5.
I think of it this way. The PS5 is just somewhere within the spec level of the game. You can have even a better experience on PC if you have the hardware.
No, did you see today, Matt? Because of Digital Foundry's video, the PS5 outperforms a 4090 with Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
That's the narrative today. Because Digital Foundry had pulled one screenshot and nobody knows how or why the screenshot happened, but it happened to be blurrier than the PS5 version. Although other people have now taken the exact same screenshot on their PCs and it's crystal clear. But somehow Digital Foundry saw this and they posted it on their side-by-side comparisons. So today's narrative was PS5 outperforms a 4090.
You get a lot of the other features. You get higher frame rates. You get everything else on a high-end PC. And if you have the equivalent SSD, you're going to get the same performance, like regardless of that. And the thing is, those scenes that happen with the portals and stuff is what they were touting as only possible, and that's just complete and utter bullshit.
Correct. It is. And again, it is what it is. It's done and over with. It's being played elsewhere now. It's not a PS5 only game anymore. And it's not a PS5 SSD only game anymore. It now works elsewhere. More and more people are going to do comparisons. More and more people are going to put videos up. You can see the differences. Again, go ahead. Claim that the PS5 wins because the Rift travel is 0.1 seconds faster than a regular SSD in a PC. That's fine. I don't care. Again, who cares? It's freaking Ratchet and Clank, folks. It's freaking Ratchet and Clank, of all things. But again, the war never stops. It doesn't matter what it is. We're going to try this. So have fun. Enjoy yourselves. I could give 2 shits left. I'm tired. I think it's the dumbest thing narrative ever. Go play some freaking games. Go post some screenshots. You want to get into a rant about that? Because you know what? There's a whole lot of frauds out here who talk big game and who actually like to talk about other people and about what games they don't play or how they're always on Twitter. And yet, if you go to their own Twitter pages, you won't find too many screenshots. I'm out here weekly posting screenshots and short videos of different games I'm playing, especially when I'm playing new stuff that people like to see. I got a whole lot of people in this community that like to talk about everybody else's business out here in the name of creating a class, an elite class of gamers, and yet your own stuff doesn't show that. You don't show any passion for this industry outside of the brand. That's what you're passionate about. You're passionate about a brand name. You're not passionate about gaming. Or at least according to the way that you have defined it, you certainly don't show it. So why don't you all try to go play some games? If you're enjoying Ratchet and Clank on PC, why don't you post some screenshots from PC? Post some videos. Post some clips. It takes literally like 2 minutes to post a bunch of pictures and then clips, even less if you got it set up properly. Go post some of that stuff. Talk about how much fun Ratchet and Clank is. Talk about what a great game it is because you've been a big Ratchet and Clank fan for a long time. Come on, man. Come on, man. Again, stuff is just stupid to me, but whatever. Enjoy your W's, enjoy your L's, whichever side you're on, whatever you believed happened here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't freaking matter. More games are going to do this. You're going to get sold the next time. You're going to look like a fool the next time if you're out here touting and spouting the same nonsense that your favorite company is. You'll get played again. That's what you live for. That's fine. Hey, more power to you. So, Bath. That gets us into a little bit more news today if we want to roll into this.
Yeah, let's get to the super chat real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys move on from the topic. $5 from Jax82 says, I like Ratchet and Clank, but come on, SSD made it great. Ratchet has been around for a long time, and SSD is the only way to play it. I want my money back. And then Jax82 with the $2 says, I can't believe they're running with this dumb narrative. Yep. I guess is what he's trying to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie Hustle. Only 1.1 million PS5 players bought that game.
Yeah.
If that's accurate, again, that shows you it's Ratchet and fucking Clank.
Exactly. Really? That was the funny thing when they were running with this originally as the marketing thing. It was like, you're going to choose this game to really try and like push the only possible thing, right? Like that, right? Like Ratchet, a platform, like a platformy shooter type.
I like Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with it, but it's like,
come on.
But really?
Right. I like I said, it's anyway. Not my wheelhouse. That's fine. You guys go enjoy it. Do what you can to do. I mean,
it is what it is.
Hey, it's your time. It's your time. Oh man. So let's get into this, Mav. So today, Mav, it was announced. Sony PlayStation announced that they have now sold 40 million PS5s. 40 million. So it has been what? It has been not even 3 years, 2.5 years at this point, right?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Over 2.5. 2.5 years. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Almost 9 months.
Yeah. 40 million. They fixed their supply chain, which is obviously a problem. Last year and the prior year, it was a big problem. They had a problem with supply chains. They fixed it. Demand is obviously still high for the PlayStation 5. They've been, Jim's been out here fighting the Activision Blizzard deal nonstop, but here we are, Mav. 2 years, 8 months later, and they announced 40 million. Last we heard from Microsoft and Xbox was June, and I believe they said 23 million. I want to say
around that, somewhere around there, yeah,
somewhere around there, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that gets us kind of to a topic. I mean, first of all, congratulations, Sony. You guys are on another roll. It's a great start to the generation. It's not quite on pace with the PS4, I don't think. I think they sold 70 million in 4 years. I want to say 70 million. So, I mean, I guess technically say they're close. They're a little bit off that pace, but again, they did have the, different supply line problems and all that kind of stuff as well. So there is some reason to it, but that brings us to what our thumbnail was. So if we look at this worldwide, now obviously we know in the United States is the one territory where it's close. Yeah. It's close. It's really close. But worldwide, you're almost looking at a 2-to-1. And we know that we now have official numbers, and for the Xbox One PS4 generation, it was nearly 3-to-1, right? Xbox themselves, in fact, I think Phil said it was 3-to-1. And it's very close to that if you look at the numbers. So you got to ask yourself, Mav, at this point, and why we're bringing this up. And again, this isn't doom and gloom at all. This is a honest to goodness kind of discussion because Jez wrote an article today for Windows Central. Shout out to Jez. Why is my Twitter not working? What the heck happened there? Interesting. Hold on for a second here. I got to bring this up. Why is my Twitter not working? There we go. Thank you. Okay. So Jez wrote an article today, and his article title, he did this for Windows Central Direct, not the gaming side, but the main site. Xbox's biggest crisis right now isn't games, it's hardware. And I'm going to read off this article because I think it's a great article. I think it brings up some interesting topics that I kind of want to, talk with Mav about, and maybe ask you guys too for some input as well. Maybe if you guys have any opinions on this, because this isn't doom and gloom. I think you guys have listened to me and Mav long enough, and all of our different shows that we're on, to know that it's never been doom and gloom for us. We were never on that train. Xbox is in a different place than they have ever been before. Hardware isn't everything to them. They've, we'll kind of get into that because they've devalued hardware a little bit themselves. We just had Phil on the interview talk about how making great games isn't going to help us get out of third place. So we got a lot to get into here, but I want to read this article first, and then we'll kind of talk about this and see where it's at, because I think there are some questions to be asked about what does Xbox do now, this generation, right? 2-1. We're almost 3 years in. Probably not the spot that they had envisioned themselves in. So I think there's some questions and some just conversation to have about this, about what Xbox kind of does here going forward. So let's see. Let's take a look at what Jez has to say. Xbox's biggest crisis right now isn't games, it's hardware. The PlayStation 5 is on track to outsell Xbox 2-1 again. Microsoft is on the verge of picking up Activision Blizzard in a deal that has been working on restlessly for more than a year and a half at this point. One of the biggest acquisitions of all time. The purchase is valued at around $75 billion, depending on what measurement you use, and will give Xbox sole control over franchises like World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Candy Crush Saga, and various others. With acquired studios like inXile, Bethesda, Blizzard, and Activision producing exclusive content for Xbox, the days of Microsoft's content drought are likely well and truly over. However, it might be too late to make a big impact. Today, PlayStation revealed that its PS5 hardware has sold 40 million units. Microsoft doesn't share hardware numbers typically, but court documents, math, and slides from an ID at Xbox in Brazil seem to suggest the Xbox Series XS lineup is around 20 to 23 million units sold globally. That essentially puts the PS5 at a 2-1 advantage against Xbox. But perhaps the split is even worse than that beneath the surface. Microsoft's hardware strategy for the Xbox Series X and S was promising coming out of the gate back in 2020. But now it's 2023. An unexpected global pandemic, an unprecedented chip shortage, and an upheaval of tech supply chains, have impacted both console firms. In terms of hardware sales, PlayStation has come out swinging, though. Microsoft has, not. Microsoft announced just yesterday that the Xbox hardware had seen another quarterly decline, although it reflects figures from before its announcement of boosted supplies last June. Let's analyze where we are with Xbox hardware and what could it mean for the future of the Xbox brand. I noted in the intro that Sony has a 2-1 advantage over the Xbox Series consoles, but it's actually a little worse than that. I was quite bullish on Xbox Series S strategy in the early days. On paper, it makes a lot of sense to have a more affordable SKU that could potentially target students, younger gamers, the gift market, and stuff like that. The Xbox Series S makes up a significant chunk of the Xbox Series player base, although we don't know exactly by how much. I thought it was a good strategy, but unfortunately, it seems to have come at the expense of the more powerful direct PS5 competitor, Xbox Series X, which increasingly doesn't seem to have the install base developers and perhaps Microsoft needs it to have. So for third-party developers, not only is developing for the Xbox Series lineup more expensive, having to test and maintain two separate versions, it also comes with poorer margins, since you are obviously going to sell far less on the Xbox Series consoles. The S version will also showcase games at their worst, which is not something developers would want to do ideally, making it easier for PlayStation to land marketing deals. Much ado was made about the power gap between PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X at launch. On paper, the Series X is more powerful than the PS5, but we've yet to really see that manifest into actual results. Outside of Gears 5 and Forza, Microsoft hasn't really produced games that are truly visually impressive generally. With the spectacular license we've seen out of games like Horizon Forbidden West and Final Fantasy 16. Additionally, analysts like Digital Foundry repeatedly cite the Xbox Series X versions of games as having slightly worse performance than their PS5 counterparts. Developers have begun more openly complaining about the Xbox Series S power as well. Larian Studios noted that Microsoft's policies of the Xbox Series X and S launch parity are preventing it from shipping Baldur's Gate 3 day and date on Xbox, since the Xbox Series S lack of power is incompatible with the game's couch co-op features. Microsoft itself scrapped the split screen co-op for Halo Infinite, probably for the same reason. Despite this, Microsoft has sent out engineers to Larian to see if it's something that's possible to achieve. Other developers have also complained about the console over the past few years, and as we head deeper into the generation and games become more complex, it's going to become an ever increasingly fraught issue. Sony doesn't have to deal with the SKU disparity. Instead of trying to target the lower end market, Sony is instead plowing ahead with an even more powerful PS5 Pro, according to reports. Tentatively, based on my research, it seems that Microsoft is not going to have an answer for the PS5 Pro either, at least initially. The PS5 Pro will be more powerful and more expensive than the PS5 and Xbox Series X, potentially allowing for 60 frames per second or higher frame rates without compromising 4K resolution. We've already seen games struggle to hit 4K 60 on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, including Microsoft's own Starfield and Plague Tale Requiem last year. Meanwhile, Microsoft is struggling to get current gen games running on its cheap and cheerful Xbox Series S. That's a major problem that will only get worse as the generation follows the market leader, Sony, into higher fidelity gaming. I wrote recently about how Microsoft's horizontal expansion efforts were distracting them from Xbox console experience, and I can't help but feel like xCloud gaming has to shoulder a large portion of the blame. Again, I was quite bullish on Xbox Cloud gaming in previous years. With everyone switching from DVDs to Netflix, it makes total and complete sense that gaming would go down the same route, right? Well, maybe not. The laws of physics are a tricky thing. When you combine the expenses of actually running global server farms to power the cloud, the cost of content acquisition, and requirement to have near perfect network circumstances to get even the most vaguely tolerable experience, increasingly, I think Xbox Cloud gaming was a red herring. Much like the Xbox Series S, it seems that xCloud gaming has been at the expense of the Xbox Series X. Microsoft hasn't really made any secret of the fact that Xbox Cloud gaming is powered by the Xbox Series X chips. One of Microsoft's biggest issues since the launch have been stock levels, which has been abysmal since before the pandemic even. Even after the pandemic, things still aren't great overall, despite the fact that Sony has once again plowed ahead and seen triple-digit year-over-year sell-through. Microsoft now runs the risk of making PS5 the default console that everyone simply buys without a second thought. The console all your friends have, the ecosystem your family is in, and the platform with the big household name games you want to play. Microsoft squandered Halo with perhaps some of the worst IP management in the history of gaming, leaving it propped up essentially by Forza and the racing game segment as its only real system seller. Of course, that could be poised to change with brands like Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Doom, and Call of Duty about to align more closely with Xbox in the coming years, but it only matters if you actually have stock to sell. Microsoft has committed hundreds of thousands of potential home Xbox Series X consoles to cloud gaming, which by Microsoft's own admissions in court, few people actively use. People use Xbox Cloud gaming to test out games they may later go on to buy or play locally, according to Microsoft's testimony to the FTC and other regulators. Microsoft also claimed that the demand for cloud gaming is minuscule too. Those consoles haven't exactly gone to waste since the teraflops are being committed to AI while not being used for Xbox, but that hardly helps the Xbox department, does it? It's not all doom and gloom. It's not quite as dire as some would expect and predict. Of course, 21 million consoles are all grabbing FIFA, Fortnite, and Call of Duty microtransactions, generates quite absurd levels of revenue still. And on paper, the console strategy is sound. Xbox Series S would have been a great additive. Xbox Cloud Gaming as well would have been a great additive. The problem is that it feels like both have detracted from Xbox rather than help it. The engineering effort required for Xbox Cloud Gaming has seen a pace of updates to the Xbox dashboard slow to a crawl, with the console becoming all but featureless despite Microsoft's software strategy. We used to have a clip editor baked into the system. We used to have picture-in-picture video viewing. We used to have TV pass-through and onboard voice command. We used to have cool avatar games. We used to have innovation. Now the best Microsoft can offer is slightly resized Xbox tiles after literally years of begging for it. Forget streaming to YouTube, sharing to socials, or new Xbox achievement features. Enjoy your new tiles. However, on the off chance Microsoft can somehow truly crack cloud gaming, break the Google Apple business model, um, business model, blocking duopoly, and circumvent the latency issues preventing it from being truly fun, they'll be better placed than most to take advantage. In the near term, the Xbox Series X local hardware install base is really the main problem. Xbox fans have generally been angry at Square Enix and other big name publishers for arbitrarily skipping Xbox consoles. But you have to see it from their point of view. If I'm Square Enix, notoriously risk adverse Square Enix, do I make two versions of Final Fantasy 16? One for the compromises, the artistic vision for the underpowered Xbox Series S, only to have access to fewer gamers anyway? Or do I focus entirely on the PlayStation 5 with its single install base and its co-marketing exclusive opportunity with PS5 branding? And if I'm Microsoft, does it make good business sense to fund the development of the Xbox Series S version for Square Enix to make up the difference? Will enough people buy the game on Xbox Series consoles to make the effort worthwhile from a business perspective? There's no amount of money Microsoft could give that would make the economics work for both parties favorably, which contributing to the reasons why games like Final Fantasy 16, Genshin Impact, and Baldur's Gate 3 are becoming de facto exclusive, timed or otherwise. The problem is that since it is increasingly places the onus on Microsoft to essentially pay developers and publishers huge sums for their content, often via Xbox Game Pass deals. And yes, these publishers are often the outliers. The vast majority of AAA publishers on the high end do support Xbox, even without the Xbox Game Pass deals. But as the game gap widens between the platforms and the Xbox Series S lags further and further behind, the future is becoming more difficult to predict. To offset this uncertainty, I would like to see Microsoft grow the primary SKU install base, the Xbox Series X, while making the platform exciting again. Microsoft needs to innovate on the box to make the platform seem fresh for their current and potential new players again. Microsoft has begun to deliver here, thankfully. Microsoft has fixed the content library gap with its studio acquisition, but if games like Starfield make the Xbox Series consoles desirable to regular consumers again, will Microsoft even have enough stock to meet them? Xbox announced at its non-E3 showcase in June that the stock levels have been improved. But a quick glance at the Xbox Series X listings on Amazon US as of this writing suggests otherwise. Shipping in 2 to 4 weeks. Doesn't sound like fixed stock levels to me, but what do I know? Having cloud as an option and the Xbox Series S as an option are sound strategies on paper, but they've disrupted the Xbox Series X to a point that has been to the detriment of the entire platform. Xbox lead Phil Spencer recently said that Microsoft can't out-console PlayStation during an interview. Maybe it can't. Does that mean it shouldn't even try? Absolutely not. Xbox Game Pass is still the best deal in gaming, and the best experience of that absolutely on Xbox local hardware. It is yet to truly have its must-get moment, though. But that moment might be on the horizon. The strong lineup of upcoming Xbox games and a bit of investment in the platform itself, I believe that Microsoft has a real opportunity to turn it around. Thank you all for listening to that. I know that was a longer article, but I think Jez brought up lots of massive points in there from his perspective. Again, it's just an opinion-based piece. Obviously, there are some facts in there, like we talked about in the beginning of this. But I thought it brought up some interesting questions, Matt. Right? Xbox 2023 strategies at the beginning of the generation. You know what they talked about, Mav. Again, talking about the 2 SKU, talking about having Halo Infinite at launch. That didn't work out. The pandemic hits, chip shortages happen, everything goes haywire, games are delayed, right? Games are coming out broken, all this kind of stuff. And it's not just Xbox's platform, right? There are a lot of people are experiencing this stuff, but we're talking specifically Xbox kind of happened from the beginning plans of the generation to where they are now are in 2023 on the cusp of one of the biggest deals in the history of their company. It is the biggest deal in the history of Microsoft's company, one of the biggest deals in video games industry ever. They're on the cusp of that. But behind them, they're now 2-1. They're back 2-1 again. For a while there, it was like kind of neck and neck for a while, like maybe like a 1.3, 1.4 to 1. Like it was neck and neck for a long time while Sony was having issues.
When in North America, they were within a weeks of actually passing PlayStation.
Yes.
And PlayStation got their stuff sorted out just in time for that, right?
Right.
Like it was really, really close at some points. I mean, I'm talking about like 2,000 console difference type
Right.
close, right?
Yeah, and
In
we
the
don't know for sure,
states.
but it had to be close because all the numbers said it was close, right?
And this was according to VG charts, which everybody
Yeah,
said, well, if you can't rely on VG charts, they're not accurate. But
whatever.
that being said, they've been pretty damn accurate this generation. When all the numbers come out, they
Yep,
adjust accordingly as well, and it's usually not the huge adjustments. So it's like been pretty damn
pretty
accurate so
pretty damn
far,
accurate.
right?
Right.
And if you can look on there now, and they haven't done their update to hit the 40 mil yet, but they were at 39.12 for PS5,
There you go.
right? And that was recently, so
Yep.
they're pretty. They've been pretty damn spot
They're
on,
pretty close, right? Yeah, they're pretty close. And then the other thing that happened too, Matt, right, is 2022 happened.
yeah,
Right, 2022 happened. No first party. Again, that goes into games being delayed, and Xbox's roadmap completely fell apart. It came off the rails.
yeah,
It was a massacre, right? Sony consistently put out games, and again, you can say, well, it was a bunch of cross-gen stuff. Oh, it was a bunch of remasters, a bunch of you can say all that. They had content on a consistent basis for PlayStation fans. Xbox was relying on third party again. Xbox was relying on Xbox and Game Pass deals, which is great. Again, if you're Game Pass subscriber, we were eating pretty good those lean years because they were bringing in some pretty quality third party stuff. And again, as a grazer, as somebody who plays everything, I never was without games on Xbox ever. But overall, again, first party 2022, we already know what happened. So Matt, for you, again, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this, right? But we're sitting in 2023. My big question for you, and you can take it, you can expound upon anything you want to talk about from Jez's article or wherever you want to go with this. This is free flowing as always. But we're sitting in 2023, right? We've got the ABK deal looming, which is obviously going to make a big impression, already has made a big impression. We've got Starfield launching in 36 days for the early release, which is going to be massive for Xbox. We've got all that happen. But we're also now getting whispers that PlayStation 5 is, PlayStation's going to have a PS5 Pro coming next year. That we're going to hear about that. We've got a PS5 Slim coming up here this year potentially, right? His PlayStation is in a great position. 40 million sold. Again, it's nothing to sneeze at. They're in a great position, 2-1. 2023 Xbox. Now, looking at this, the roadmap now for content seems solid. Like we're there,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I would
we
say
know
way more solid than PlayStation, actually.
Great, right?
Yeah.
Even more solid than PlayStation, right? So my big question over there, and again, you can take it any way you want to, but my big overarching question that I want from you is, in your opinion, Xbox is down 2-1. Do they stay the course, Matt? Do they continue to push forward, even if they don't have the consoles per se, right? The stock. Let's say the stock underneath. Do they continue to push forward with the plans? Do they try, right? Even though Phil's admitted to, in his opinion, that they can't out console PlayStation. Do they make that attempt, or do they continue to de-emphasize the console market and continue just to focus on Game Pass, right? And try to grow that part of it, which of course would mean that there's, probably potentially a lot of console sales coming their way because people want those consoles to play Game Pass on, even though you can access it elsewhere. Do they continue to do that? Do they continue to put focus not only in Game Pass, but in PC, in mobile, and again, kind of de-emphasize that console market? Do you think there's a strategy where they don't do a pro to match PlayStation and kind of give, I hate using this word because it's not what I mean, but not give up this generation, but acknowledge that they are where they are. And if their roadmap of content changes that position, great, they'll be ecstatic. But are they already looking ahead to the next gen? And what can they do to catch up there? What do you think, man? Where are you at with this?
It's an interesting conversation because I feel like a lot of it also kind of does kind of shed a light on the priorities of both companies, right? PlayStation's been the only, pretty much, besides porting their PC games over later, much later, right? Which is a new thing for them, the only place to play their games, right? So with Xbox, there has been a de-emphasis on having to own a console, right? So it's somewhat, it's almost like an expectation eventually that like the Xbox ecosystem doesn't necessarily depart consoles, but just has it as a part of the ecosystem, which is something that we've been saying for a long time. Now, PlayStation is pretty far behind on that. Now, I think it's honestly probably the better approach going forward in the long term to have your stuff as many places as possible, right? But for a lot of people, they don't have to buy an Xbox to play those games, right? If you have a PC, if you have this, or if you have, wherever device, you can find a way to play a game. Now, add on top of that two other factors that have played in this generation now: the lack of supply, which I can only chalk that up as a failure on Xbox's part. There was demand that was not being met. Somehow, PlayStation was better able to meet the demand. So, regardless of whatever, in the hardware sales category for boxes, PlayStation did a better job at being prepared to sell to their consumers, right? Who knows exactly what deals were made, or who knows exactly how they achieved that, is because maybe they felt it was more important, or they had to survive because it's their only way of accessing their content. And maybe Xbox was like, okay, we're gonna focus on this and this and this to get by instead, right? Who knows exactly? But by doing that in the hardware category, Xbox has let PlayStation gain an even larger lead. And there's another factor to that as well. With the start of this generation on Xbox, has also had less delivery of big time first party content than PlayStation has. And I'm not talking about just the number of first party games, I'm talking about big time, huge titles, right? So I feel like PlayStation had more of a regular cadence with that. And Xbox so far has had, your typical, you had Forza Horizon, you had Halo Infinite. So you still have Forza, you still had Halo. You have surprises this year. This year's ramping up better and better, right? But really, those are the two biggest games for this generation. And fill in some other ones for me, Pong, from Xbox so far this gen. I mean, we're 3 years in almost, right?
Yeah, we're 3 years in.
So we got Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon
Yep.
5. What's another major release? What like a Horizon Forbidden West, or like a God of War, or like a Last of Us, or like a
I mean, again, you got Flight Sim, you got
okay.
High Fright
And so
Rush.
you see my point there, right? There has now that's changing. Like that's changing, right?
Right.
Finally, we're
100%.
going to start seeing the benefits of all these acquisitions, of all these studios. We had the best E3 showcase ever. That's not E3, but whatever. The best showcase ever for Xbox. We had like so many brand new IPs, so many different things. Whereas so far this generation, there hasn't been as many different titles to push the hardware, right? So there's two factors there. Now,
Right.
to Jez's point, that can turn around, but that's also like to the other question of, well, what does this mean for Xbox and the hardware in the future and stuff like that? I don't really necessarily think the plans change from what the original vision was. I think that they understand the roadblocks and the trouble they've had getting those titles out. They've given the developers more time. They delayed Starfield, knowing it was going to cause these effects as well, right? They also originally had a delay on Halo for a year. I mean, there's just been insurmountable thing after insurmountable thing. They've had massive bad luck with big third party titles that they had been marketing and
That as
pushing
well, yes.
on the hardware. So there's definitely different things. Now, meanwhile, Game Pass has still been growing.
Yep.
It may not be hitting necessarily targets that they have internally of goals,
Nope.
but it's still growing, even
Yes.
even despite all of this stuff, right?
Right.
And this is in an era where other services and content have been declining. So despite all of these faults and all of these things that have happened, their core aspect of one of their businesses are growing within Xbox has been growing and has been helping sustain them, which is funny because originally people argued about this Game Pass thing was not going to be sustainable, but yet it's what's been sustaining Xbox, right? It's been
Yes.
what's been helping them get through all of this, you know. So hardware in the future, I don't know if I mean Xbox is not going to climb the mountain like Phil said and surmount PlayStation as the
Mm.
hardware sales leader.
Right.
But does that matter? I don't personally think it does. Now, I think that the ecosystem is important, and I feel like treating the console players with the equal amount of respect that the PC players get is
Right.
important,
Always.
which is something
Your
that
core.
they need to really
Yep.
pay attention to
Refocus.
and focus on because they've lost. That's and to Phil said it. Numerous executives have said it. Those are the people that spend the most money in the ecosystem. Those are what is funding pretty much everything that you're trying to do. That's your
And I,
core base, right?
and I think the showcase to that point, Mav,
Yeah.
was a love letter to the console players this year
Yes.
in a lot of ways
For sure.
because that was a very console focused show. Yes, all that stuff's coming to PC. We already know that it's day one. We know all that, but it definitely was promoted to the console players as, hey, our roadmap, it's looking pretty fantastic right now. Check this out.
Yeah.
This is, you guys are gonna be happy.
And that's also to say that like that's why I think they're not going to just like abandon the console market, right? Because and at that if you abandon the console market, you are abandoning your core player.
Correct.
Like you can't do that. You can't just say, "Well, we're no longer making consoles." In that case, you're taking the biggest amount of money that they make away from the Xbox ecosystem. Like the people that spend the most, they're not going to do
Mhm.
that, right? So the people,
Right.
the doom and gloomers, the all that kind of stuff about this is just nonsense. Xbox is staying in the hardware game, right? It is going to be a focus and and Phil said it time and time again, despite the doom and gloomers out there. Phil said it's going to be the core focus of their ecosystem, right? Now that I think they still got to like with the PC stuff, they got to make sure they treat the console players with the same level of respect that the PC players get with a lot of things. But that being said, there's going to be new hardware, right? Now, when does that happen? I personally think they will do a mid gen because I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to let PlayStation take that power narrative, especially if you look at it from this perspective. Xbox is just an option on console. Now it's a place where they know they're going to sell a ton of them to their hardcore, but
Mm.
if you're not just relying on that as your driving point for your entire ecosystem, like as far as places to play, it's just an option, and people can choose whether to upgrade to that or not, and which
Right.
is different than people's mentality in the past of like new box, have to upgrade everything. New box, okay, not next time, upgrade everything. Oh, there's this gate, there's this wall barrier, we have to
Yep.
jump over to it as everything changes, all this stuff. To Xbox, I think that's changed, right? We've seen your library carry forward with you from Xbox One to this generation, and we're
Yes.
going to see that again
Huge.
with the next generation or whatever the next boxes we get. And so, therefore, I think it's almost easier for Xbox to implement a higher piece of hardware. It all comes down to cost and whether they can sell it at a reasonable enough price and still not lose their ass, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's going to be dependent on what we get if we do get another piece of hardware
Yes.
this
Right.
generation, right? Purely about cost, I think. And I think part of the stock issues and supply issues have been because Microsoft didn't want to raise the prices as much on the Xbox Series X, and they were probably losing their ass on selling them. And as the cost and inflation all went up, they weren't as concerned with selling a ton more Xboxes and losing a lot of money, right? They're losing money on every single box that they sell. Now that maybe the cost is caught up and stuff like that, I'm not sure, but maybe now that's why the stock and supply issues are getting sorted out. But it's
Yep.
also coincidentally just in time for all of these this avalanche of games that's going to start to flow like quarterly from the big AAA titles from Xbox as well. So um there's two other parts to this article that I think are very important. The Series S.
Yep.
I'm going to come out and go ahead and say early on, I thought Series S was going to be the highest selling console this generation.
Yes.
I
We had
think
those conversations.
I was wrong.
We did.
Right? I think it's a very great I have 3 of them in my house. I absolutely love the hardware. I also think at some point Xbox really needs to seriously look at it and remove the requirement for a game to have to be playable on a Series S.
Okay.
If it is keeping games out of your ecosystem, which now we know it is, but you can blame the developers all we want, right?
Okay. Hold on. Let me ask you this question to clarify what you just said. Are you saying that they should remove the feature parity, or are you saying altogether that a developer, if they don't want to develop a game for Series S, doesn't have to at all?
At least the feature parity.
Right. I agree with that one. So that's why I'm asking clarification. Because if you tell a developer they don't have to make a Series S version, we're gonna have a whole lot of games not showing up.
If I could look at it and say the feature parity is enough to solve the problem going forward, then that's enough. If they take a hard look at it and realize that it's not enough to guarantee that games don't avoid the ecosystem as a whole, then they need to remove the requirement. The thing is they're not ready. They're not going to move on from the Series S. They just revealed a new one.
Hold on, Lonzo 86. When we talk about feature parity, there is feature parity. That's the problem with Baldur's Gate 3 right now, is because Microsoft requires that if the Series X has couch co-op, the Series S has to have couch co-op, and that's the problem they're having right now. So when we talk about feature parity, that's it. We're not talking about frames or resolution, because we already know that they created the S to be different.
Is that a Larian requirement or an Xbox requirement?
That's an Xbox requirement.
So I mean, to me, it's like it's a troubling thing, because if games are skipping your platform, because regardless if we want to say, well, the developers don't know how to do what they're doing, all that kind of stuff, regardless, if it's still causing it to happen or be delayed, it's supporting your competition by creating exclusives because your hardware is causing problems for that. So, like, I think the Series S is an inexpensive enough device to live on, and despite this, even if it's feature parity or whatever, with a ton of amazing games that are going to be playable on it. First party Xbox games, they're going to be there, all that kind of stuff, right? And a lot of third parties, inexpensive. You can even
I agree, Sam. I
agree. So as a family entry point console, I would have to look at the future, maybe in like say late 2024, 2025, if there's a game that says not playable on Series S, or playable on Series X only. Right? And how much that would have set me if it meant that the game was able to exist in the Xbox ecosystem, would not have otherwise. Right? I would rather have the option than not. Right? Now, developers may also be like, well, we're cutting out like this many millions of customers, so it's not even worth it for us to do that. So who knows, man? But like, I think it's a consideration at some point we would have to think about, and Xbox may have to think about going forward. Because regardless of what any of us think, I think there's proof out there now between a high profile game currently that it's causing a problem with that game launching day and date with the competition, right? So, the other aspect I feel like there's a lot of marketing that's been not just on Xbox but on PlayStation as well, right? That's been absolutely missed this generation, with missing the mark back with the experiences that we've been getting on a lot of these games,
Yep.
as opposed to what we were being told, right?
Right. Correct.
And that goes across the board. And I feel like
Yes.
that's created a somewhat of a little bit of asterisk on just consoles in general. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Which is maybe hurting not just Xbox but PlayStation sales slightly as well. I'm hoping that amazing games start coming out. Starfield's incredible, and all these things, and and then the boxes just start flying off the shelves, and maybe it's already turning around. You know what I mean for Xbox? There's evidence of that, even
Yes.
just because of Call of Duty and this ABK deal and all of this kind of stuff as well. Um, and ultimately, is it going to matter in the long run for Xbox as
Mhm.
we continue to see the ecosystem evolve from a box into everywhere, right? And I think it's box is going to be a part of the everywhere answer, and we've already seen that.
Yep.
So it's less important for PlayStation in a way, but it's still
No way.
important, right?
Right. And PlayStation has its own growing issues right now because obviously they're putting out inferior PC reports, which you're not going to grow your PC market if you continue to put out games that have problems on PC.
Yep.
So they have their own set of issues that they're going through right now themselves as they try to expand their own market. It just so happens when we talk specifically about the console market, of course, PlayStation, again, in the high performance console market, again, everybody knows that we just set Nintendo aside because they're in their own little world. But in that market space, PlayStation still has the dominating factor and it shows up as they are the lead console a lot of times in these devs' eyes. And Xbox Series consoles get the leftover dev time, the leftover resources, and they're not optimized in a lot of cases. Not every case. We've seen Xbox Series consoles outperform. Microsoft, Xbox obviously has a good relationship with a lot of third parties, and you see that relationship show up a lot of times. But again, overall, generally speaking, that's kind of what this generation has shown us so far. That's why I kind of said this Xbox is in a dilemma, Mav, and you brought up a lot of great points there, brother, like I knew you would. And Jez, again, I think did nail a lot of things. Again, it's his opinion, it's perspective. That's all we're talking about here at the end of the day. It is just an interesting dilemma for Xbox to be in at this point in the generation. And again, there was things outside of their control that affected everybody in the industry, not just Xbox, but it just so happened that it did hit Xbox pretty hard with the way that things were shaping up and with where they wanted to be at this point. Again, I don't think I'm going out on a limb that if you went back to 2020 or 2019 when they were getting ready to launch the series consoles, if you asked Phil and everybody else at the top leadership positions what their goals were by 2023, 2024, I don't think that they're where they thought they would be right now.
Yeah.
I don't think things went as planned in any way, shape, or form, right?
They definitely
I think
thought
it's
they'd have a
safe to
lot
say
more
that.
games out.
Yes, they thought they would have a lot more first party. They obviously thought their first party roadmap would have been more solid through the years than it has been up to this point. And again, everybody in the chat, you guys are making fantastic points in there. I love you all. You guys are great in there. There's been so much that has happened that has changed that. And now the dilemma is, Mav, with on the cusp of this ABK deal. And again, everybody likes to focus in this community. Most people like to focus on the console side because obviously that's where most of us game a lot of our time. Even those of us that are now getting PCs and that kind of stuff, we still game on our couch. We still game from that hardware, that console hardware is the console side of things. But Xbox, Microsoft is buying ABK for more than the console segment. And what's happened for these first 3 years is they have put more focus onto PC side of things, onto mobile side things. They're fighting a three-front war, right? They really are at this point. And what happens in those scenarios is that inevitably there is going to be a segment that certainly does suffer, right? There is going to be a segment that focus does get pulled away from because it's near impossible when you're trying to do so many things at once and juggle so many balls that eventually, one is going to feel a little bit less focused on, especially when it was just the console market at one point, when that's what Xbox was the console market. And yes, I know they went to PC fairly quickly, and obviously PC, day and date games, first party, all of that showed that they were entering the PC market. But let's be real, they were still trying to win the console war back then. They were trying to beat PlayStation at their own game back then. They were in it. So now they are trying to do much, much more than any other company has attempted to do. They've got a big, big battle coming up with Google and Apple. They've already told us this. It's not, we're not making this up. They've told us they're going to go try to break up that duopoly. If this ABK deal gets done, they're going to create their mobile store and they're going to go after it. So that's going to take resources. That's going to take time. That's going to take attention. On top of now having Blizzard, BattleNet, and really going after the PC market as well. So here we are again with the consoles. They're in this dilemma. What do you do if you're Phil? You come out and you tell everybody publicly, we're not going to out-console PlayStation at this point. Even if we make great games, people aren't going to sell their PlayStations in numbers and move to Xbox. Now, I think Mav and I both stood up when that interview happened and said we disagree with Phil. We politely disagree. Again, the guy obviously knows a whole lot more than we do about this industry. Yeah. Well, we do disagree. And a lot of people have come out and said, Phil, you get on a streak here. You know, Starfield, Forza, Hellblade 2, Avowed, they all come out to massive. Yeah, right. Yeah, now that we know what Clockwork Revolution is, those games come out and they are critically acclaimed and they're scoring in the 90s and people are talking about, people are streaming them. Are you really saying you couldn't make an impact? No, I definitely think you'd make an impact on the console market for sure. But at the same time, he's saying it publicly. So therefore we got to take him for face value. I take Phil at face value. He does CEO speak. He has to, but again, reading between the lines, he wasn't lying to there. He wasn't saying something he doesn't believe. So if that's the case and you're in 2023 and now you're looking at the numbers and you're going, okay, we're at 2-1 again. Okay. We're at 2-1. What are we going to do? How do we play this out? We've got all these other places that we need to put resources and time into, and there's only so much that we can do at one time. Are we just going to say we're good with how this generation goes? We're still going to focus on Game Pass. We are going to get this roadmap of first-party content solidified. We're going to make sure our studios have everything that they need. We are now past the pandemic. We are past the delays. We are going to make sure these games come out at the highest quality, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may for the rest of this generation. Meanwhile, we're going to tackle mobile. Meanwhile, we're going to continue to push into PC, but we're going to let the console chips fall how they may. And it kind of seems to me at this point, again, if I'm speculation town, armchair CEOing here, if I was Phil and I was looking at this, am I going to try to continue to battle PlayStation this generation one for one if they come out with a Pro? I don't think so. I think I'm going to come out with a Slim of the Series X with upgraded storage, which a lot of people have obviously been complaining about because it's taken so long for us to get any kind of third-party storage cards because of their proprietary system. I think I would come out with a Slim. I would cut down the costs on the Series X, obviously. Try to make some money on that console, right? As happens in normal generations, bring down the cost. And I think it would carry forward with the Series X, even if PlayStation goes ahead with the Pro. And they have obviously now upgraded the Series S to have a bigger, the Series S Black version to have a bigger storage as well. I think I just push forward, man. I think I push forward. I continue to push Game Pass. I try to get my Game Pass growth up, which is obviously something they've been lacking in due to lack of first-party content. But I push now. I've got the roadmap. I've got these big games coming out, assuming they come out with high quality. I'm pushing Game Pass everywhere, bro. I'm out there pushing Game Pass like, yeah, you need to come on over. And I make sure that I have stock for the Series X and the Series S. I make sure I have that stock so as people get to know that these first-party titles are now hitting, that on a consistent cadence, that we've got at least one per quarter big game, and hopefully they're critically acclaimed, that people go, oh yeah, I now need this game now makes me need, or these two games now makes me need a Xbox Series console, either an S or an X. I need to go find one. They're available. Great, cool. I'm grabbing one. Whatever PS5 does with the Pro, cool, right? They're going to take the power narrative back from you. Okay. It's something you came out publicly and said you would never lose again. Okay. Situation changes, right? The situation has changed. This generation has changed from where you thought you were going to be to now. So you have to adapt. You go chasing that power narrative yet again, putting more time and resources in engineering. If you haven't already started, you're going to be way behind. So you're going to start putting more time and resources into chasing that power narrative again for a half a generation? Or do you look ahead? And do you think that you can find an advantage because you now look over at your, assuming ABK gets closed, 33 to 35 studios? I brought this up last week now. Do you look over at those studios now? You say, we are loaded. We have the ammunition now. We can press the advantage leading into next generation. We can make sure that when we launch next gen, the titles are still going to be cross-gen. Like Mav just brought up, like we all know, now that we're on x86 architecture, right? It's more like PC. All we're going to be getting is an upgraded card, basically is what I'm saying, in our next console. The next consoles aren't going to change how developers make games, except for obviously increasing power, maybe more accessible tools, which has also been an issue for Xbox side of things. So how do you take advantage of that? You make sure your launch lineup and your first year of games is undeniable. Yes, they will be cross-gen. Yes, many of those games, or most of those games, or maybe even all of those games will be able to be played on the Series X and Series S console. But those developers should be able to scale up, just like when new cards come on PC for your next-gen hardware. And you go to your first-party devs and you say, guess what? We are launching. We're going to beat Sony to the market next gen. And we need to make sure we have games ready either at launch or within that first year of launch. What do you got? How hard would it be? Here's our spec. Here's where we think the specs are going to be. How hard would it be to bring your games up? Because, man, let's be real. Most of the devs by the end of this generation are just going to be getting comfortable with Unreal Engine 5, right? They're just going to be starting to learn how all the, Unreal Engine, how to optimize Unreal Engine 5, all the little tips and tricks that we know happens through a new engine's generations. They're just going to be getting to that peak point with Unreal Engine 5. So you say to them, we get you these specs. What can you do with your game? And again, I just threw out Unreal Engine 5. But there's a billion other engines, and obviously Microsoft and Xbox owns a ton of first-party engines.
Yeah, we got to be careful. You ask all your real talk because I'll end up going on another rant.
Right. I don't want to do that. I was just throwing it out there. But you say we are going to launch next gen a year. Again, we saw the court documents. Everybody expects next gen to happen 2028. If I'm Xbox, if I'm Phil, I'm going to the engineers and I'm saying, all right, here's what we're doing. We're going to give you more resources. We're going to give you whatever you need. But we're coming out a year early. Go to all your devs, 33 to 35 studios. You're telling me that as you're lining up your roadmap come 2027, 2028, we know they're going to have a huge roadmap.
Maybe see Perfect Dark finally come out then.
Maybe, right? You go to those devs and you say, this is what we're lining up. You're going to have your Series X version. You're going to have your Series S version. You're also going to have your next gen version. We need you to be able to scale this game up. Whatever you do, again, I'm not a dev. I'm just speaking out of turn. Okay. But I know this, again, when PCs release 4090 cards, it's not like devs who are in the middle of dev cycle said, oh, I got to create a brand new game. No, that's not what happened. They upscaled all their games. They brought it up. They said, great, we could do more ray tracing. Oh, great, we get more frames out of this. Great, we can get better resolution out of this. 4090, great. That's what I think you do with the next gen, and you press your advantage because, again, if there's something you know about gamers, you all in the chat know as gamers, to some degree, even if you're not that tech guy who knows every little spec and every detail how things work, you've got a little tech guy or gal to you. You like the new stuff. And if Xbox can show up a year early and beat Sony to the punch, and you press your advantage with your partnership with AMD, you get them to prioritize your system out the gate, and you get a lineup, one of the greatest launch lineups in the history of launch lineups, even if it's cross-gen titles, but you're taking advantage of your hardware out the gate, And then within that next year, just imagine, Matt, the brand new Call of Duty that year for launch. Sure, there will be a PS5 Pro version, but all you Call of Duty players, you want to play the best version? Xbox Series XX version is going to be coming out at the same time. Oh, yeah. By the way, it's day and date and Game Pass if you didn't know yet. You don't think that wouldn't hit? You don't think if you said, oh, by the way, we got Elder Scrolls 6 coming, right? First year, first 6 months of launch, maybe even if Todd and his team have been working extra hard, get it at launch. We got Elder Scrolls 6 on Series XX. Sure, you can still buy it on your Series X. You can buy it on your Series S. We'll have those versions, but you're going to get your best version right there. You don't think that's not going to push gamers to go buy a Series XX or whatever they call the next gen? I think it would. And I think you have the advantage with this. So it's going to be interesting. I think Jazz points out correctly that they're focused. Go ahead.
I do have a question for you regarding that.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say, like, in this scenario, right? PlayStation does a mid-gen refresh, Xbox does not, and instead 2027 or whatever, Xbox releases their next gen version of the Xbox, right? Xbox, whatever.
Right.
In that situation, wouldn't PlayStation just be in the position to the following year release a more powerful version of that generation as well?
They would already be locked into whatever they're doing, right? Because they were locked in with PlayStation 5 until they figured out what Xbox was doing. And then they had to obviously go back, according to all reports, they went back to the drawing board, right? So, and they still couldn't catch what Xbox was doing. If Xbox does what they did this generation and looks at the landscape of where gaming is going and says, we need this power, they're still ahead in terms of total power. Now, again, results are different, but in terms of total power, they still were ahead of where PlayStation was. So if you press your partnership with AMD like they did for the series consoles, and you make sure you have AMD's latest, and again, I know people would love for them to go to NVIDIA, but let's be real. If they go to NVIDIA, the consoles are going to be $800. Okay? That's why they go to AMD, because AMD offers them the best prices, right? NVIDIA is going to upcharge both console makers like crazy to get NVIDIA hardware. All right. Especially cutting edge NVIDIA hardware. It's going to be expensive. And that's why they went with AMD. AMD is a great partnership because AMD wants to push their narrative that they're coming up. Let's be real. AMD is catching up. Yes, the ray tracing thing is a problem, right? Of course, DLSS has still got an advantage. We know that. But AMD is catching and they're much better value. Anyways, either way, whoever they go to, you ask them for the latest and greatest and make sure that you're getting their cutting edge stuff so that the following year, there is no way PlayStation would be able to grab that power narrative back again. And these companies have a good idea of what they're doing. Again, that's how Xbox did it this generation. That's what made PlayStation go back to the drawing board. PlayStation got caught flat-footed. They thought they were going to launch a year earlier. Xbox said no. And then all of a sudden skipped a half a generation of tech on them. But I don't think PlayStation's going to do that. If they continue their normal course, right? I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they would be able to jump ahead of Xbox. I know what you're saying. And yes, is it a risk? I agree it's a risk. But think about how many gamers you would catch, man. Think about how big that lead would be out the gate if you do it right. That's why I present it this way. If you do it right.
Yeah. It's just I'm just curious.
It's interesting. Yeah.
It depends on how happy people are, I think, with as far as moving over to an Xbox.
Yes.
Right. Which is the biggest attainable consumer that most people that are invested in the Xbox ecosystem are going to buy the new Xbox. Right. We're going to buy the mid-gen refresh if it's there because we want the best possible quality for our games. Like, I'm talking about the hardcore gamers, right? And then when there's a new generation, we're gonna be try and get them within the first year if possible, or day one for many of us, and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But the biggest obtainable customers are the ones that in the console space, don't currently own Xboxes, right? And in that regard, I think it depends on how happy they are with the PS5 Pro and the ecosystem that they'd already be invested in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now maybe those games, right? Maybe the Elder Scrolls 6 and all that stuff drives them there, right?
Right.
Which is possible. But if some of these ABK acquisitions obviously are going to stay multi-plat and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Correct.
And is there a potential possibility that in the meantime, like there's a better experience on a PS5 Pro than there is on a
Sure.
Series X
Sure.
from an ABK game,
Sure.
right? Like,
Yeah. There
and
is.
with what does that do for sale? Like, I just feel like for me personally, I feel like Xbox needs to stay in that power narrative, and even in like a year or two could do massive damage to them.
Yes.
And we'll see. I mean, who knows exactly
I,
what the
and
right solution
and I'm
is.
open to that. You obviously, again, I'm just
Yeah.
spitballing
No,
here. Like it just kind of
it's fun
that
speculation, right? It's
right.
like
That's
about
why
trying to
we
think about the business of what
that's why
makes the
we
most
called this a
sense.
dilemma, right,
Yeah.
Mav? Because again, I don't know if Xbox expected to pass PlayStation this generation, right? From Phil's own mouth and his words, I don't know if they ever expected to pass PlayStation this generation. But do I expect that? Do I think that internally, if you asked them back in 2019, 2020, coming into the launch, if they thought they could stay within sight of PlayStation, right? This time around, worldwide, not just the US, but worldwide, if they thought that they could stay within sight, obviously the East is a whole different thing, but I'm talking about obviously the West, US, Europe, etc. Do they think that they could stay within sight of PlayStation? I think they would have all said yes. I think we have the formula this generation to stay within sight of PlayStation and then eventually, potentially with Game Pass, with our first party titles, close that gap even further leading into the next gen. Whether or not that was a priority or not, I still think in the back of their head, as competitive people in this space, they would have said yes. That's the
They
dilemma
honestly
now.
had no better
Yep,
opportunity than the start of this generation.
correct. They
And
had an uphill battle. They had to change a lot of things. They had to change a lot of narratives. They had to prove a lot, right?
yeah.
But they knew they were going to be acquiring. They knew they were going to be acquisition phases. They knew they were going to have first party content eventually. And I think that they thought that they could do it.
Yeah,
And
I
now
just
here we
they
are.
didn't have enough in the interim
Yeah,
phase,
correct.
right? They
Due to a
didn't
lot
do
of issues.
enough planning with that
Right.
and then the stock shortages and all that kind of
And
stuff.
pandemic just threw.
Yeah, but like again, PlayStation figured that out better than they did because I think it's more of a priority for them to, to like
Because they're still using the old business model, right? They just
right,
laid their plans out and they just continue to do what they do, right? They weren't trying to do all this other stuff, which is what Xbox is currently doing, right?
which is
Which is fine.
why they find
Long
themselves in the
term,
position they do
right,
now. And
right.
it
Yes.
is what it is, but if you don't make it the priority, you know what I mean? That's the results you're going to get.
Right.
And right now, to be honest, this generation um console hasn't felt like the priority for Xbox.
Right. It has in a lot of
Um
ways.
and that's I mean it's hard to say that because I'm a console player, right? Like
Yeah.
I love my Series X, and I've said this too. My Series X is my favorite console of all time because it's made
Sure.
every game I own better,
Yep.
which is the first time I've been able to get a new console and say that. Like all those updates and
Yeah.
all those free things that we've gotten and all that kind of stuff, on a console. Like, but with a lot of the stuff that's happening, with the ecosystem, like a console hasn't been their number one priority this generation. It's been the cloud, it's been growing Game Pass, it's been evolving that ecosystem, it's been PC, and then console is a maybe an equal part of that to
Yep.
them, right? But it's not the number one priority. It's obviously changed, So when you're challenging a company where their number one priority is clearly the console, unquestionably,
With a little
right?
sprinkle of
With a little
PC and a
sprinkle
little
of dabbling
sprinkle mobile
starting to
eventually,
change,
right? Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep. Yep.
It's hard to compete in that space when that's not your number one, right? So that I feel like they got to find a way in order if their goal is to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with the PlayStation, right? As far as
Yep.
hardware sales and stuff, if that's their goal, then they have to find a way within that whole Xbox ecosystem of everything else they're doing to still have that level of attention for the console players that equals the level of attention that PlayStation is giving to the
Yep.
console players. And
Right.
some will say, well, that's PlayStation's misleading a lot of their console players as well. But you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just and
Sure.
that's a different conversation. But
It is.
you know, the availability is a key factor in that.
Yep.
And
Eh,
why does the reasoning? Well, you can blame the pandemic, but you know, PlayStation got that sorted out faster than Xbox did, right?
Right. And if Jez
Um,
is right and they put the priority on making the cloud and making sure that they had enough cloud access for everybody and they had to sacrifice Series X sales to do so, then again, that's part
yeah,
of what Mav and I are talking about here. The focus not solely being on the console, it being spread around a lot more, which again is a part of their strategy. It's a long-term
and
strategy. It's not a
I'm glad
short-term
that
play.
strategy exists because
Yes. So do
as a
I.
player, I benefit greatly off
Right.
of this, right?
Correct.
It's I'm
Yep.
not saying like don't have that
No.
strategy but I'm saying
No.
if you want to compete with the PlayStation, you get also got to find a way to make each one of these spend as
Right.
much attention to making sure you get everything right within that space still.
Correct.
And like as your attention gets distracted in numerous places, it can be harder to do that. The ecosystem is amazing. Being able to have cross play, cross save, you get your Game Pass Ultimate, you get it on a PC, you get it on a console, all that stuff. That is an amazing world, and I completely believe in it in the vision that Xbox has.
Yes.
As far as hardware first, console first players, right?
Yep.
This is a tricky thing that Xbox is trying to manage in a competition in a space that their asses are getting kicked. You know what I mean? As far as hardware sales. So,
Right.
what are they going to
Right.
do about it? Well, I don't know, but maybe for me, staying ahead in the power narrative in this space is an important thing. And for me, losing that would be a mistake, especially when it's easy to like upgrade the system and all your games come with you and they can update your
Yes.
games for free and
And
all
we
that
saw
kind
the
of
value
stuff.
in that already with backwards compatibility becoming more and more valuable. We just saw that with the resurgence of Call of Duty, Xbox 360 titles. I mean, again, those benefits, like you said, ma'am, now are set up in place so that every generation going forward, those benefits are going to become
Yeah,
greater and greater and greater,
amazing.
right? It
Forward
multiplies.
compatibility.
Yes.
It's not just about. I said this
Yes.
really early on in our channel, like in some of
Yeah.
our videos. It's not just about backwards compatibility.
No.
It's about forward compatibility.
Yes.
It's about having in a digital age. 80% of the games that are bought now are digital or more, right?
Yep.
In a digital age, when you buy something, you better have confidence that later on, when you have a different piece of hardware because yours is now either no
Yep.
longer being manufactured and there's something else out because technology changes, all that stuff, you better have the confidence that what you buy today digitally will be there in the future on your future in the same ecosystem on that device, right? And some of them had some. There's been some challenges with some companies and all this kind of stuff within that, but that's the only and best way to do the digital age of gaming is forward compatibility. Make sure that our games are going to work in the future. And not
Yep.
only that, but like we got with this generation so far, Pong, a lot of the games are going to
Updates.
get better as you move forward,
Updates. Yep.
right? That's the future
Right.
of consoles for me. And that's the
Right.
future. And that's one thing why I have not been super against the mid-gen stuff. I'm okay with upgrading every 4 years or so. Like,
Yep.
give me a little bit better piece of hardware. I get my games upgraded. I'm happy with that. They no longer feel like they're outdated by like 8 years at the end of the generation. And I can continuously live in this, hey, I'm getting the great experience type feeling, right? But like it is what it is.
Go ahead. You want to grab Victor? Go ahead. Grab Victor.
I was gonna get a couple of super chats real quick.
Yeah. Grab him.
We actually have three to get to.
Oh,
Alvin
wow.
with a
Okay.
$5 super chat said Xbox's problem
Alvin.
this gen is that all their first party system sellers are coming late in the gen except
Correct.
Starfield, Gear 6, Perfect Dark, IDS Next, etc. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
they had a couple years that was a little too stagnant. You know, 2021 was pretty good, right? They were actually publisher of the year. Forza, they had Halo,
Mhm.
pretty good year, but you can't follow it up with the 2022. It's what happened,
Correct.
and that's when PlayStation gained this huge lead. Was in 2022, not 2021 and prior. It was in 2022.
Yep.
Jay Rembert with a $10, very much
Hey,
appreciated.
thank
Jay
you.
says better marketing and ample supply of consoles with the
Yep.
additions of ABK, Bethesda, and any other studios they acquire. Within 5 years, Xbox and PlayStation will be neck and neck. It's very possible. People always say things are
That's
impossible, but like we said, we disagreed with Phil. If things get going right,
yes.
you never know what can happen. PlayStation can fall.
Yeah.
Look at the results from their state of play, their showcase they had this year. Everybody hated it. PlayStation
Yep.
fans were disappointed. If that's the direction in the next 3 or 4 years of PlayStation, meanwhile Xbox is coming out with these huge, big, great games all the time, then there will be some changes, and that's just the way it goes. As well, Victor Alstein with $5 says a new, more powerful SKU would be expensive, requiring new Series
Yep.
chips in the cloud. The
Yep.
PC is the Pro for Series X. Better to wait till next gen. That's a good point too. That's why I said it all comes down to cost.
Right. That's what I was bringing up. Do you put all that energy and money into a pro just to catch Sony once again mid-gen, just to say that you got the power? That's the dilemma, right? And
Yeah,
again, I'll bring this up too. There's been a lot of great comments in the chat, like a ton of that. That's why I love Thursday nights. You guys come here and you guys interact. I love this stuff. You guys are having really great discussions in there, and a couple great points. We don't know. The thing we don't know is what engineering is doing for Xbox for next gen. What Xbox
yeah,
and Microsoft see as the future of consoles. Man, we've talked about the possibilities, and Calorie brought up one of the possibilities that we talked about. What happens if Xbox sees consoles going forward as upgradable? What happens if they come up with a design that makes it very easy, even for the console player, to upgrade potentially a GPU, a CPU, right? For those,
little
again, you could
slots you just plug in.
right. Whims, if they come up with that, right? And that's the future of consoles. And so we become even more PC like. Now, of course, there's going to be an uproar. People are going to be like, that's why I buy consoles. Again, as somebody who just got his PC, who's never owned a PC like this in his entire life, that was a console only player, the ease of use, right, of a console sitting on my couch in front of my big screen is the greatest draw ever. So I've always been a console player. But ones that they make it easy, ones that they find a way to make it simple, right? And all of a sudden that becomes our future as console owners. And then obviously somebody else, I forget who it was, I apologize, in the chat, brought up the other point that we brought up, Mav, or the question that we brought up. What happens if we get to a point where Xbox and Microsoft look at the future and say, we're going to move in the direction of cell phones, where we give everybody access to all access, Microsoft all access, where you sign up for a plan, and then not like cell phones, right? Cell phones are a little bit different tech. But let's say, Mav, every 3-4 years, we upgrade your series consoles going forward, right? You have the option to upgrade for a certain price point, right? You re-sign up for the
They
plan.
kind of do that now with Xbox All Access.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Once they open all access up to even great, like cell phones, like
right.
legitimate. Let's be real. You can have the worst credit in history and still go get a cell phone, right? It's like you can get it.
Yeah.
Ones that they open it up that way. There are different options. Again, we don't know that, but that would change the game again. That would change entirely what we're looking at. And ones if PlayStation isn't forward thinking like that, or ones if they don't see that future and they stick to their current model, well, then where does that put Xbox? And then the other point I wanted to bring up here, Mav, too, is a lot of people are talking about this as we were going through our conversation. Content is ultimately king at the end of the day, always has been in the gaming industry. Microsoft, Xbox, with all these acquisitions, and there's going to be more, even if you say, well, a lot of this stuff is still going to be multi-plat, we've always talked about this, map. They've got an avalanche worth of content coming. What happens if it is just pure that simple, that Xbox sits back, continues to acquire, they still get some exclusivity out of ABK, right? They've obviously made the decision that ZeniMax is all exclusive going forward. What happens if that just flips the table over by itself because they just simply have so much content that Sony, obviously we've talked about this, PlayStation as it stands right now, they don't have the ability to keep up one for one with what Xbox is going on. When Xbox owns 33, 35, 40, 45 studios, Sony is not going to be able to match that content. So once of that weight just eventually just flips everything over, and all of a sudden people can't deny that Xbox has just so much content coming into Game Pass that everybody just starts to eventually trickle on over. And then all of a sudden they do catch up, right? maybe even the US, they wind up passing PlayStation at some point down the road. Maybe not this gen, but going into next gen, like I was talking about. What if that just happens naturally? Just the sheer amount of games that Xbox is going to be having coming out of their first party studios. That is also a real possibility, Matt, at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's it's interesting. I mean, it really is no telling what's going to happen in the future,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
All we
fun, though.
know
This is why we do. It's
is
exciting.
Xbox is heavily invested.
Yes. They're not going anywhere.
And they are
They're
spending
not going
$70
anywhere.
billion on ABK, not to dilly dally.
Yep.
That is a hardcore investment,
Yeah.
right? That is
100. Yep.
expanding upon the gaming ecosystem that they already have in a major way that really no gaming company has done before to that
Yep.
extent. This is the largest acquisition in gaming history. This is the largest acquisition in Microsoft history. This is a transformational thing for Xbox, and I think I think a lot of people just kind of see Xbox as what it is, and just adding that to the family and all that kind of stuff. But like, I kind of like when you make an acquisition that big,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are now possible and can change, or that is more transformational to the business
Yep.
of the original entity than even necessarily what you're acquiring, right? Like
Right.
it's um you're incorporating something as large as you are in a way, almost like publishing wise, right? So
Correct. Correct.
um it's very interesting what's going to happen, and I think a lot of the answers will be come out in the next 2 years or so. After the acquisition happens, we're going to start to see moves and changes and evolve. Like every year, it seems like Xbox does something unexpected, or like that we didn't see coming, or that, oh, it's a change to this or a little slight change to that. Like they just made a Game Pass Core, right? Instead of Xbox Live Gold. It's not what originally a lot of us had envisioned for that, right?
Yep.
Instead, it's a complete different idea that they
Yep.
came up with. There's some fans of it, there's some not, right?
Right.
But it shows how they're evolving their subscription tiers, and it plays a large factor into what their future plans are. I think there's also, okay, all of a sudden randomly all these old Call of Duty games they fixed, and it has created this resurgence of interest in Xbox, and hardware being sold out at a lot of places now, and also people just going to GameStops all over the place trying to find old disc copies of Call of Duties, and not being the top paid games on the digital storefront all over the place. And I mean, there's all these. It's like always evolving, and people see like the latest statements or the latest uh, words said by the executives and take everything. That's always the way it's going to be. Is what they just said. That's the future. It's cemented because somebody said something, and that's the way Xbox is always going to be now because that's what the exec said, right? But when things happen, things evolve and they change. And
Yep.
Xbox has more than like most companies been the most fluid and changing over the last decade, I would
Because they've
say.
had to.
Yeah, and
Because
because
they
they've
had
had
to.
to.
Yeah, they
So,
had to. And that's why we've been so bullish on them, right, Mav? It's
yep.
because we believe in that vision. Again, Sony isn't going anywhere. PlayStation isn't going anywhere. They might get purchased eventually by somebody bigger. That's certainly a possibility, but they're not going anywhere. PlayStation is going to continue to be here. Even if they became Nintendo, they would still survive because they do great things over there that appeals to a very large fan base. They're going to continue to survive. But we've been bullish on Xbox because we do see that them trailblazing in different directions from the status quo that the industry has been for so long. We see that potential and we see the benefit. Again, there's certainly people that want to doom and gloom it and say that it's going to be the downfall of gaming. But from our perspective, it's an expansion of gaming. It creates more access, more ability for more gamers to jump in, which means more money, more talent, more everything. And that means more games for us gamers. Not that every game's going to appeal to all of us, but more potential for great games. And we're seeing that this year in 2023.
Yeah, I
The
see a lot of
amount
people
of
in the
great games.
chat still saying that
Yeah.
they think they're going to quit consoles.
We talked about that too, Mal.
Yeah.
Again, I see when technology catches up,
And when there's no longer a reason for a
when
console
there's
to
no
exist.
longer reason,
Yeah.
when cloud development becomes king, which I still believe that cloud development one day will be one of the biggest game changers we see in this industry. Again,
We're
whether I'm
still a
right or
long
wrong
ways
doesn't
off from
matter.
that.
We're a long ways off from that, right? We're just in its infancy, real infancy. But yes, eventually all of them will leave the console market. Why? Because outside of Nintendo, everybody else loses money on hardware. If you don't think that PlayStation would drop their console market tomorrow if they could just stream games and everybody was happy about it, you're nuts. It's
Yeah. And
one
so
of the
instead
biggest
have
losses they
way
take.
more people accessible to the
Correct.
ecosystem.
Correct. They would do it in a heartbeat. And I've always said that that was Microsoft, the corporation's ultimate goal with investing this heavy in Xbox is that they want to eventually host all these different services. When everybody goes to streaming games, whether that's 10 years or whether that's 20, 25, 30 years down the road.
Ways off, people.
Long ways off, whatever the time frame is. Xbox wants to be positioned that their Azure servers, not AWS, not whatever other cloud servers you want out there, that their Azure servers are the kingdom in which everybody hosts their gaming networks. As I've always made the example, you subscribe to Amazon Prime. Within Amazon Prime, you've got Amazon movies, you got Amazon TV series, you got all that stuff, right? What else can you do? Oh, you can subscribe to HBO. Oh, you can subscribe to Cinemax. Oh, you can just subscribe to Stars, Showtime. Amazon's AWS servers host all these different services underneath their umbrella. That's what Microsoft's envisioned, in my humble opinion. Again, who am I? Nobody. That's what they see eventually happening with gaming servers. So you're going to log into one place, right? That place is going to be an Azure server, and you're going to have your Xbox games. Oh, you're going to be able to go into the PlayStation store and buy your PlayStation games. Oh, maybe even Nintendo. Nintendo is going to be there. You're going to be able to buy Nintendo games, but they're all going to be hosted on Azure servers. That's what I think is the ultimate plan.
Yeah. And eventually, when there's like, as long as there's reasons for consoles to exist, which means that there's still a market for it and that people are buying them, and that's the primary place where they pay for their games.
Yep.
Then they will still sell you an Xbox.
Yes.
And that's going to happen for a long time.
Long time.
Because if they don't offer that now, when that's the way that consumers access their content or spend their money, then they're going to abandon those customers by not offering them that option. Let's say 4 years from now, right? PlayStation's new PlayStation is announced because it's whatever, it's going to happen, right? And then Xbox says, "Oh, we're done. We're just going to play in the cloud and Game Pass." People aren't ready for that yet.
That would be roundly rejected.
Majorly rejected.
Yes.
And that would cause the biggest spenders in the entire gaming division of Xbox to not spend money anymore on Xbox, right? Which would pretty much just be self-annihilation. They are not going to do that. So the whole idea of like, oh, they're not going to make Xboxes and they're done with consoles and they're, all done with this, not going to happen.
No.
They've said before, like the overwhelmingly large majority of the money spent comes from the hardcore gamers, the biggest users in the ecosystem, and those people play on console, right? Yep. They have the biggest growth opportunity in PC and mobile, right? Because consoles have always been kind of since PS2 era, kind of stagnant. All these companies are chasing after the same 200 million roughly customers or less, right? People that are buying consoles, or maybe even less than that because multiple people buy multiple consoles, right? They're constantly targeting that. So that's why the PC and mobile is the biggest growth opportunity, especially mobile, right? Because Xbox doesn't have a very large uh, stake in mobile right now, right? And in PC do, but they're growing. That's why they've been focusing so much on PC Game Pass. This is why PlayStation is starting to make all their moves as well. They've said it themselves that they feel like their consoles are capped out as far as the market goes. They've never sold more consoles than in the PS2 era. That was their highest selling console. That was a long time ago, and they still have yet to reach that plateau. Granted, eventually, I think they were selling for like $100 or something crazy like that, but like they still like are so far away from ever attaining that, and they're never going to reach those numbers again. I don't think. They're for 40 million now, even slightly behind the PS4 generation. PS4. Yeah, so therefore, what do they got to do? Make their Ratchet and Clank available on PC, because guess what makes the money? It's not the hardware.
Correct.
It's the games. It's the games, and the games are the access to the microtransactions, all this other shit that they make money on too. The games, the content and services, the subscriptions, and the games are what make the money for these companies, right?
So see Jim chasing games as a service right now.
Yeah.
That's where the money is.
And so as long as they got to sell you a piece of hardware for the people that want that to access where they spend their money, they're going to keep selling the Xboxes. Question is when and what do we get, right? And that's one question we don't know a lot with Xbox, except for potential leaks with the court documents.
Correct. And it's a small, and console being, as everybody's pointing out, that's something that we talked about, being the smallest piece of the pie. And again, it's just that Microsoft Corp saw that pie and said, hey, if we can go get more than this little piece that you guys give us, we're all in. And Phil found a way to sell it to Satya, to say, oh yeah, we can go get that big pie, and we can also go ahead and promote your Azure servers, by the way, as well. And Satya was like, I'm in. Let's go do it. Let's go get that pie. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. So, and there's also future things, quantum computing, Calorie. I saw you bring it up. We've talked about that. Quantum computing could change some things. AI is already going to change things. That could be a huge thing. Those two combined could change everything, right? It could change everything as we know it. So there's so much unknown, but that's why we're excited about the future. And again, we're just bullish on Xbox. Not that, again, either one of us, by any stretch of the imagination, hate PlayStation or even hate Nintendo, even though we can certainly go on Nintendo rants. It's all gaming at the end of the day, but we're bullish on where Xbox wants to go and what they're doing. And the commitment by Microsoft has made us even more bullish. That's why.
And also the customers are changing.
Yes. Customers, the younger generations are completely different than who we are.
Yeah. They grew up on iPads and phones playing games, and they're more comfortable and happy with doing that. You know what I mean? So it's like, now my daughter's graduated to playing on Xbox primarily, and she loves it. You know what I mean? But like a lot of kids just play on little handheld devices or phones or tablets, and that's just what they do. And there's much more of those than there are kids that play on console.
Yep.
And
same in the East.
Think about all these kids growing up. We're the average age of a hardcore gamer is probably in their 40s, 30s, 40s now, like late 30s.
It's late 30s, I think now.
So this is we were all the generation that grew up in the Nintendo and Sega eras, and grew up with the consoles and Atari, whatever. Yeah, old ass. That was it. I had an Intellivision, right? And Intellivision, Sega Master System, all that stuff. We all grew up with this, and the word console, it's ingrained into us as children to love that, and we're all growing up though. But there's way more of those little fuckers out there than there are us. Right? But we're the ones that got the money right now. Right? Our generation, we're the money spenders. We're the ones that make the decisions of what to spend the money on for the kids and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, eventually, those little fuckers are going to be the 30-something-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, and they're going to be the ones making the decisions on what to buy and where to play.
What's popular, what the trends are. That's, again, these companies are thinking that far ahead as well.
Yeah, and that's
so
looking at it already has happened.
Yes,
with the 20-somethings, younger generations, and all that
Fortnite.
stuff. Like
Fortnite's a perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, this is We're being aged out. We're dinosaurs. We're old. We're old. We're old
as long
fogies.
as long as RPGs never become uncool, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, eventually, what happens with any business is they chase where the money is,
of
right?
course,
Like the decisions they
chase the
make on
trends.
what kind of games to make, what kind of things. All we can hope is that the younger generations fall in love with the same kind of stuff that we have, so we can still be enjoying games in our 60s and 70s, right? That
Correct.
aren't going to be all
Right. Terrible.
horrible.
Horrible.
I don't want to live in an NFT world of,
No,
you know,
no. Please, God, no.
hey, did you see
Please,
all these
God,
different
no.
sneaker options on our characters? This was $100. You know, it's a collector's item. I got these sneakers 8 years ago. I can sell them to you for 200 now. You want them on your digital fake character that you use in this world? Uh,
No,
that's I
I
don't want to
don't.
live in that world.
No, I
I don't
don't.
want to live
No,
in that
I
world.
don't.
Alvin hit us
Alvin.
with $2. Says that Nicki Minaj cod skin will probably sell 1 million.
Yep, Snoop and Nicki Minaj coming back to Call of Duty. So
I don't know, man. That like is there unfair advantage like with hit detection
Jesus.
because of the ass, you know? Like
Did you really go there? Did you really go there?
I mean, just in comparison to the other
Did they
characters,
make
you know what I
Snoop? Did they
mean?
make Snoop really tall and skinny compared to everybody else?
Oh yeah,
Right?
is that an
can,
unfair
he, can,
advantage? You know what I mean? Like
can he hide behind things? Can he crouch behind things the same way as everybody else, or his head stick out? Right? You got the braids sticking out. Well, what happens?
it's funny.
Well, man, that was one hell of a topic. So, that was really, I mean, we deep dived that sucker. I mean, that was big. I knew it was going to be. It was fun. Chat, you guys were again absolutely incredible in there. Lots of great discussions in there. Just again, it's a big topic. It's an interesting topic. Again, it's not doom and gloom by any stretch of the imagination. It's just it is a dilemma for Xbox right now, the position they find themselves in at this point in the generation. That's all. And it's going to be curious to see what they do with it. I can't wait. Mav and I are both excited. That's why we continue to talk about this stuff here. Um, Mav, it's been 2.5 hours already, brother. I can't believe it. This absolutely
Wow.
flew by. I do have major storms rolling in here next 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So if we're going to continue to go on, if I do go away, just you guys know why. We do have some major storms coming in, but we've got a bunch of smaller topics, Mav. We can get to a bunch of gaming stuff, small game stuff. Is there anything you wanted to touch on, brother, at all?
Oh geez, man. We hit on my
Anything that
favorite topic already with the Ratchet one.
Yeah, with the Ratchet one. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, let's see here. What else was there? There was oh yeah, the PlayStation seeking a director to be responsible
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah, yeah. Acquisitions. Yeah. Yeah. Global
yeah.
acquisition position.
What's funny
So
is that this
yeah,
this tweet says
go.
inorganic growth
Yes.
opportunity.
Inorganic growth opportunities.
Actually using the
Correct.
word inorganic.
Of course. Yes. Yes. Roberto Serrano, shout out to him. He's a good source of information on Twitter. If anybody doesn't know, he does come through with a lot of good stuff. He's a business analyst, web and tech guy. And he does know stuff in the industry. He's been I wouldn't call him an insider. I don't think he's dropped a ton of insider stuff, but he does pay attention to what's going on and drops a lot of good knowledge. And his exact tweet was Sony Interactive is seeking a director corporate development to be responsible for identifying inorganic growth opportunities, Mav just said, through acquisitions, investments, or joint ventures, attractive M&A and investment opportunities. And he got that from a job posting listing. So they are ramping up, Mav, as we knew they would. Again, they can't do to scale what Microsoft and Xbox can do. Obviously, they don't have the bankroll, but they are obviously gearing up. This is going to be, they understand, as everybody was pointing out, as we just talked about, content is king. Tencent just made moves this week, right? Tencent is now the majority owner of Techland, right? Makers of Dying Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved in, like we've seen them do, but they took a majority ownership. So there's other players looming: Apple, Amazon, are both looming out there. Sony understands this, man. They're not going to sit idly by and watch everything get gobbled up without gobbling up what they can. Again, it's going to be a different scale, but they're going to do what they can do. So it is interesting, Mav, that they hired this position. What do you think, Mav? Take Two coming Sony's way. Is that what rumors continue to say? Take Two.
They're definitely not Take Two. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's the hiring, and but this was from back in last year.
Yeah, it was an
So
early move that just came kind of around, but
yeah, is it? Did they ever fill the position?
I don't know. That's a good question. If they ever filled the position, we probably wouldn't know. Again, we knew they filled the mobile position, but that guy's already gone,
Yeah.
right? The head of their mobile division already left. So, but Sony's going to continue to make moves. There's no question about it. I mean, again, most people assume Square Enix. Wouldn't shock me, wouldn't surprise me. I just don't know. I think they're going to continue to make strategic moves with smaller devs, and I think that they're going to look to newer devs like they have been, like Jade Raymond's Haven studios. I think they're going to make moves like that. There will probably be a couple of bigger third party. I wouldn't be surprised. If they could ever acquire CD Projekt Red, I've said that would be something I think they would go after, would open up their PC market with GOG and stuff. I think that would be a smart acquisition if they could do it. Again, the Polish government is invested in CDPR, so it makes things complicated. But if Sony could do that, I think that would be a great move. Square Enix, stuff like that. I think that's the extent of what we're going to see. Ubisoft is always interesting, but I just don't think Sony wants to take on that.
I mean, it seems like that job has been filled because it's no longer open. But, I mean,
Okay.
But yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
What what they're going for. I mean,
right.
The possibilities are not as high as like for Xbox, right? Just because of spending, So the biggest players take them off the board, right?
Yep.
But who knows? I'm kind of the mind that they're just going to do some minor stuff.
Correct.
I don't think we're going to see any huge home runs from PlayStation.
I mean, it depends what you consider a home run, but I mean, again, Square.
I mean, Square would be a home run. It's a big name publisher.
It's the number one mobile publisher in the East, right? So they would just solidify that Eastern stranglehold. But again, as people pointed out as well, and I think rightfully so, with the pressure being put on politically on Japan, are they going to let basically a monopoly in, a duopoly, I should say, between Nintendo and Sony? Are they going to let Sony just roll in and buy up Square Enix? Will that go through? It's a fair question to be asked right now. If Sony can make a play like that in the East with the political pressure out over there going, what are you guys doing?
So what about CD Projekt Red?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said CD Projekt Red would be extremely strategic, and
do you think they could have been doing those layoffs to downsize to get ready for an acquisition?
Getting slim and trim, potentially, or it's just a massive restructure by CD Projekt Red after the Cyberpunk fallout, after everything that they've gone through. They've got their roadmap laid out explicitly how they're going forward for the next, basically they got the next 5 years laid out, right? They've publicly laid it out. So maybe they just laid that roadmap out and then just said, here's who we don't need, right? And we're going to run extremely thin, but we're going to make it work and just really maximize our efforts, right? And not have any bloat whatsoever. It sucks for the people who got let go, but it happens in this industry a lot. It happens in every industry a lot. When companies go through something major like they did with Cyberpunk, that they reevaluate everything that they're doing. And maybe this was the result of that reevaluation.
Yeah. Alvin hit us with a $2 super chat. Says inorganic growth doesn't point to Square.
Well, it would be, I mean,
sure, they've been organic, inorganic thing is bullshit to begin with.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. It's just funny. It's just funny.
That's why I was laughing when I saw that word used for this. Like, what does that even mean? Like,
right.
All these companies have histories with each other. You know?
Exactly. Yep.
Bethesda had a deep history with Xbox.
Correct. Long history.
Nobody was saying, "Oh, how organic." that acquisition was, right?
No, no.
Um,
They conveniently forgot how much
yeah,
Bethesda had worked with Xbox through the years. So even when Todd reminded everybody what a
yeah.
close relationship they had throughout all the years. Um, see what else we got in here, Mav. We've got it looks like some Rockstar, some people digging into Rockstar servers found another hint that Red Dead Redemption remaster
Yeah.
is a real thing.
This is the second
So
second time that we've
yep,
seen this
more
rumor
smoke.
come up.
I'm kind of like I said, they got to do it right. Don't give me the Grand Theft Auto remaster and just slap Red Dead Redemption on there and think that you're going to get me to buy it again. You're not. But if you do it right, will I go back to one being my favorite? You know, damn well I will.
Yeah,
Right.
I've been
So
playing some of 2 on my PC.
yeah, I know you have, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
bro.
loving it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous,
Yeah,
man.
I can't wait. Red Dead Redemption is one of my favorite franchises in gaming. Period. So definitely a good excuse to go back to the first one, which had an amazing story. If you can give it to the level of detail that 2 had, my God, it'd be amazing.
They do it right. Again, it has to be done right. I'll be back because again,
Yeah,
I love Marsden. I think I still like his story better. So I'll
maybe
go back again.
this tells me also, if this is true, that they're hopefully not done with the franchise. And
No, no, they're not.
3, come on.
It
I
just
know
better
you're
not take
busy with
10
6,
years.
GTA 6 right now, but God, I really want Red Dead Redemption 3. That would be like, I would be way more excited for Red Dead 3 than I would GTA 6.
Yeah, me too. Overall, from the story campaign
Yeah.
perspective, absolutely 1000%. Again, GTA. I haven't really enjoyed a GTA campaign in a long time. I really haven't. I've played them, but I just haven't enjoyed it. I went back when they Game Pass GTA 5 just came out in Game Pass again. I re-downloaded it. I popped it in and I started playing through it, and I'm like,
Yeah. I didn't
no,
really
I don't want to do
super
this.
love the 5 campaign. I mean, I've never even pushed my way through it to finish it because I kind of
Right?
lost interest. But like
Yeah.
GTA 4,
Yeah.
I loved the story in 4.
Yes. I liked 4 too. Right.
Nico Bellic,
Nico.
Nico was great. I loved Nico. I don't like any of the guys in GTA 5. I mean, Michael's probably the like one I have most fun with that character because of him and his family and the shenanigans there.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like them splitting off where you can play as multiple characters
Yep.
was a mistake. In my
Yep.
opinion, it took away the attention of that great story of one person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe, I don't know. We'll see in the next one.
We'll see. I mean, again, I know graphically and from a mechanical standpoint, they're going to push the bar yet again.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
Rockstar is one of the greatest devs. The level of detail is ununbelievable.
The amount of options for the graphics on the PC was
Yes,
insane, dude.
insane.
I
Yes, because
mean,
of how much they push it, bro.
that was nuts.
But the extent that they go to make the world real is on another level. Like Rockstar is one of the greatest when it comes to that. Again, when I saw the video that somebody put out where somebody did a close up of the rail workers in Red Dead Redemption 2, and you can watch them individually pound in the spikes into the
Yeah.
railroad, and they actually pound them in bit by bit and then move on to another one. That's just a background NPC
Yeah.
that nobody pays attention to as you're walking around the world. Again, Rockstar's got my utmost respect for how much they put into their games, and I know GTA 6 is going to blow people's socks off when it finally launches. I mean, again, there's no question. So, from that standpoint, I'm excited to see what they do with the world.
Yeah. Bring it to Game Pass. Come on.
Yeah, bring it to Game Pass. Yeah, right. Strauss is like, yeah, no, thanks. Anyways, Phil, appreciate you. I love
They
you,
did
brother.
the GTA remaster. They brought that to Game Pass.
Well, yeah, but they knew what a shitty port it was.
Yeah,
it was a
that's true.
mobile
They were like,
port.
we're just gonna throw away this piece of shit.
Yeah,
Just give it
right.
to whoever was willing to throw
Right.
some money at us.
Mm-hmm. They knew better. So
Did they ever
GTA
fix
6
it?
no. Yeah, certain things like the rain where you can actually see. Yeah, they fixed that. Stupid. So stupid, bro. So stupid. Anyways, Mortal Kombat's looking even better and better, Mav. I know everybody's hyped for it. Most people are hyped on another level. Obviously, Ed Boon and NetherRealms again have just knocked it out of the park with everything they're showing. But we got new fighters confirmed, Mav. One of them being Doomslayer. That's pretty damn cool. They're gonna have Doomslayer in there. They're gonna have Noob Saibot, obviously, Kano, Serena. My girl Harley Quinn is confirmed. Listen. I'm not gonna buy it day one because I'm gonna be.
So
I'm
these
gonna
aren't
be.
just rumors anymore. They actually
No,
confirmed
these aren't.
Doomslayer.
These are
Okay.
legit. These are legit. Um, it's leaked. It was leaked. This is pack number 2 that got leaked. I'm gonna be over my head into Starfield, so I'm not buying Mortal Kombat day one, and I don't do online. So I'm a campaign Mortal Kombat guy, an arcade play against the AI guy. So I'll eventually pick up Mortal Kombat 1. But you throw my girl Harley Quinn in there, like seriously, like I really want to play it. Deathstroke is going to be in there as well. 5 cameo fighters are going to be Rain, Draman, Bo Rai Cho, Hasu Ho. God, I forget. Hasu Hoi and Hasu Hao are both going to be in there too. Forgive me if I butchered them, guys. Sorry. So yeah, so this is the Combat 2. But the fact that Doomslayer, Harley is going to be in there, both of those I'm all about. Obviously, Noob is going to bring in a lot of players. Again, people are sold on this. This is going to be the biggest selling Mortal Kombat ever.
No Nicki Minaj?
No Nicki Minaj. Thank freaking God. No Cardi B or any other stupid shit like that. Thanks. Ed Boon, don't ever. Just please don't.
What about
okay?
the
You can
boys?
do.
What if they put the boys in there? That would have fit.
Listen, that's fine. Again, they would fit because it's in that fantasy world, right? Comic world. Again, I don't have a problem with that, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
It's a big franchise. It works. Again, them in Call of Duty. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but fine, whatever. It's Call of Duty. We know Call of Duty jumped that shark a long time ago, so people can complain all they want. It's no longer a military sim. It hasn't been a military sim in a long time, so it's fine. Play around with it. Again, that's the Fortnite influence, right? It happens, and they sell a ton. See what else.
Idosloth did an update on his post and said he noticed that the 5th cameo fighter is wrong.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Moloch.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for correcting that, Moloch. Thank you. Appreciate that. What else we got this week? Ubisoft canceled plans. Ubisoft going to Ubisoft. They actually have a franchise. Sure, it probably didn't sell as well as Ubisoft would have liked, but it got so much positive press, Mav, that a sequel probably could have done better than the original did. But they canceled Immortals Phoenix Rising, the second one. Now, I played Immortals Phoenix Rising for probably about 15 hours, maybe somewhere in there. Loved it. I want to go back to it. Immortals Phoenix Rising was great. People said it was like Zelda, right? But it was Ubisoft's version of Zelda. I was like, okay, I have zero interest in playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. But the way that they did Immortals Phoenix Rising, I was all into. Like, I loved all the design. I loved all the characters. And they just cancel it. Like, I hate it. I hate it. No, Splendid, I'm not good at raising Japanese like Steel. That's why I let Steel do it during Living Split Screen, and that's why I love when he does it. You're right. But Immortals Phoenix Rise, did you ever play it, Matt?
Yes, I didn't beat it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like most games.
Right.
But yeah, it was a fun game. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it had it was kind of like a mix between Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and Zelda or something like that. It's kind of like interesting open world game, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked the traversal, I liked the combat, I liked the characters, I liked the whole lore behind everything. I know there's some people that it's like what's their favorite, one of their favorite games to come out this generation. Yeah, it's just a shame that Ubisoft has to have like the biggest slam dunk moneymaker ever. Otherwise, it's like, oh, move on from it. You know what I mean?
It's so annoying, man.
Ubisoft
is so annoying.
Sometimes franchises you have a great start and a good start, and then you grow from there. And it's the sequels or the third iteration that really become where it's like a mainstay huge franchise, right? If they had just relied on Assassin's Creed with what Assassin's Creed 1 did,
right,
Assassin's Creed would not even exist today.
Right.
It was a successful, popular franchise for them, right? But it was 2 that really took it off to another level. Right? if they are so quick to move on from every little like slight disappointment or whatever, like or unreasonable expectations and stuff, it's like it's a shame. You found a franchise that people actually like that was it reviewed pretty well from what I remember.
Yes, it did.
People commented on it. It was kind of like a thing, like, "Oh, yeah, we love this game," you know. And then you're like, "No, we got to cancel it just to make more Assassin's Creed games," you know. Like, I mean, come on.
Oh, I don't under. Yeah, I just don't understand. I just don't get it. I never will understand Ubisoft until they get rid of
They have
Yves, and
the
then maybe I'll
them and
start to make
Square
sense.
Enix that have this.
Yes.
I have the stupidest like people that make
Management.
decisions. Like, I just don't understand it. Like I sometimes I wish I could like go in there and just like, oh, get some fucking sense into you guys. Like, what are you doing? Like, you
Yeah,
just don't make good decisions. Then your
correct.
businesses struggle because of it. It's not like people say,
100%.
well, you know, but like they know what they're doing. You know, obviously not. Their market share has plummeted dramatically over the last several years. Insanely low levels compared to what Ubisoft should be. Square Enix has had massive trouble as well, and they've had to even
Yep.
look internally and like fire people and let people go and vote in a new head of the board and all these different things, a new president. They complain every game they release about the sales and all these kind of things. Like these companies keep doing these things and they keep struggling with this and that, and yet you keep seeing them make stupid decisions, and it just points to why you're in the
This
position that you're in.
100,000%.
Just get some
It
fucking sense. Make
just
good games, put them out, and everything
yep.
will be fine. That's
Everything
it.
else will fall into place.
Yes.
The way it works,
Look
Ubisoft,
at
make a
what
good game and then
Capcom has done
monetize
to
it, not
turn
the
their
other way.
shit around. Did you see their financials, Pong?
Everybody should look at. Yes, I did. Everybody should look at Capcom again.
Capcom was in the shitter pretty much a few years, like last
Xbox was going to
generation.
buy them.
Yeah, earlier last generation, they had you know, they had the whole like security breach thing. They had like failure after failure of game, and they were struggling to. And now they've like doubled in value and all these different things. Like their financials were like skyrocketing. Bandai Namco as well.
Correct.
Just make good
Make
games. Not everything has to fit into a mold of a box of a money making scheme.
no.
The money making scheme is make a good game. Wow.
Yes, especially when you
with your talent and the amount of the amazingly talented developers you have at your disposal,
and when you have fantastic IP already there that you can use.
You have an advantage.
Yes.
You have a massive advantage over everybody else. Like these big publishers have this massive advantages with this insane talent pool, people dreaming their lives to go and work for these companies, and they eventually get on, and you know, and then they're put on to support studio for Assassin's Creed. You know, that like their projects are not approved to be made because it didn't fit into a box, right?
Yep.
Um,
Correct.
come on.
Right.
Look at who's successful and what they've been doing. And if you want to copy trends, you want to copy anything, copy that. Because the ones that are making good games and releasing them at a decently reasonable pace are the ones that are making money.
Right. And they have the ability to do that. If they refocused and worked on that, they would have the ability to do that. They would not have skipped an entire generation without Splinter Cell. They would not have bastardized the Tom Clancy name and what they did to all those franchises. They would have continued to evolve those franchises, but not into, hey, we're going to monetize the hell out of everything, attach a Tom Clancy name to it, and then, oh, by the way, we need to make a game, so let's slap this together. That is the opposite of what you wanted to do. Again, yes, Mav, as you just pointed out, there's lots of examples now of successful companies who get it in 2023, are making oodles of money by making great games first and foremost. And that's what you need to do. You can experiment, you can go do side things, you could try games as a service. Zero problem with you trying things. But first of all, make sure your house is in order and you're putting out the IP that everybody expects you to put out, and you're not trying to ruin it and drive it into the ground with all this craziness that Yves and his top decision makers have done. It's just Ubisoft. That's why your value is where it's at, way undervalued. Anyways, speaking of Ubisoft, too, by the way, everybody, Idlesoft put this out today. For the next 12 days, you can get Ubisoft Plus for 1 month for $1. So if you want to jump into Ubisoft Plus, again, as Idlesoft put, even if you want to go see if some of the DLC is worth it for some of your games that you probably own from Ubisoft at this point, since they all go on sale for nothing at some point, Ubisoft Plus, $1. Next 12 days, you get a month for $1. You just got to make sure you remember to cancel your membership, obviously, because it's going to make you do that thing. But $1. So go check out Ubisoft Plus. No, because I'm not even have time. I was thinking about jumping into it, but I'm not going to. Let's see. Calorie. Yes, we were talking about Immortals Phoenix Rising, by the way. They supposedly canceled a sequel. That's exactly what we're talking about. Luis Jose, real quick, man, wanted to know our thoughts on the film industry and the strike going on currently. We're not going to turn this into Fun Pop, but film industry, they have every right to go on strike. They should go on strike. Again, it's not even about the main actors. It's about all the, all the little parts that people are just absolutely not getting paid for. The film industry. It's also about protecting themselves from things like AI and that kind of stuff going forward, which you have to get ahead of the curve. So as an employee, if you're looking at your industry and you're going, oh my God, these fat cats at the top from these big studios are going to start looking to replace us or to just start artificially generating our likenesses in movies down the road. Like, you have to get ahead of that and you have to protect yourself. So I'm all about it. Strike. I mean, again, get what you need to get out of this and protect your livelihood for the future, because the future is changing fast. So without a doubt,
I feel like my thoughts are kind of match yours, man. I feel like a lot of people just see the big names, obviously big paid high, they make, these guys make $100 million and all this stuff. Like, why are they on strike? Like, they're obviously usually the more outspoken ones because they have the face they're hoping to make a difference for the other people. Right. There has been statistics thrown out there about like 84 or 86% or something of the actors out there make less than $26,000 a year or something like that. It's like, it's a struggling world that is highly dominated by the top players as far as visuals go. But like, if you watch a movie, you watch all these other things, you watch TV, there's a lot of other things going on, right?
Yes.
That besides just the top people. And this isn't to say, like, with these spoiled millionaires need more money, like we do with like athletes as well, right? Like, a lot of times those strikes, as much as I hate to see them, and as much as the big players on sports teams benefit from it, also it's the undrafted free agents that also benefit from those things, players. Like all that kind of stuff, benefits for retired players, health insurance stuff. I mean, all these other things go into it. And because I'm not in that industry, I can't really speak on it. If they feel like there's enough there for them to do what they got to do, then do your thing. And if I, as a consumer, have to wait a little bit longer to watch the next MCU movie or whatever movie it's going to be, it is what it is. And it'll all get sorted out. The movie production companies are going to eventually come to some kind of settlement.
Have to.
And with the writers as well.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's something that happens in big industries at times, and I don't really give a shit.
Nope. But you have to protect yourself, and you got to do what you got to do. And it's always telling when the big players do come out in support of the smaller players and say, yeah, no, these guys, these deserve more. Like when you've got the Tom Cruises going to bat for everybody, like that tells you like that it's a real problem. It's a real issue. And it's something. And again, with future, with where tech's going, and we know the studios, we know the people in charge, just like everywhere else, want to cut corners. And they will go get AI writers to write movies. Like, you got to protect now, because again, that tech's going to invade no matter what, and you've got to make sure that your livelihood is protected at the end of the day. So good on them. Good on them. Definitely appreciate what they're doing over there. Mav. Let's see what else we got here. We talked a little bit about Capcom. Capcom has confirmed they plan to release one unannounced game which would sell millions by March next year. Now, there's been a lot of speculation on this. Everybody's screaming Dino Crisis. I will tell you, Power Stone. There's a billion other Capcom games that they could do. What do you think, You got any idea, man? You got any speculation? You got any dreams, hopes? They're cooking up. Unannounced, that would sell millions.
Does Pragmata? Is that a project?
It's announced. Name? Yeah, it's announced. No, that's the name of the game.
Actual name. Okay.
Yep.
Because I was trying to rack my head around this, man.
Yeah.
And if it's intriguing because it's unannounced. Oh, yes. And this is the kind of fun speculation I love. Yes. I've been thinking about this a lot, actually.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. So it's an unannounced game.
Correct.
And it's March. One that they expect to sell millions.
Yes. Coming next March.
Which tells me, if just off the bat, I think it's an existing franchise. Right? Because you're expecting to sell millions means you have high confidence in it, which means I think it's an existing franchise. So then I start racking my brain. Okay, so what are existing franchises? And it's going to be released when? Within months? Within this year? Is that right?
Yeah, March next year.
By March next year.
Okay. March next year. Yep.
So I don't think we're ready for the next Resident Evil yet.
Nope.
So I don't think it's that. I mean, we just got Resident Evil 4 remake this year, right?
Yep.
So I don't think it's that. I mean, Street Fighter just came out. Yep. So that leads me to thinking about existing franchises. And there's only a couple that I think would have that kind of power to drive the kind of sales.
Yep.
I look at potentially a Marvel versus Capcom.
Okay.
But is that too soon after Street Fighter 6?
It's a different game. It's possible. It's a different game. So
Street Fighter 6 came out in June or May?
Yeah.
In June?
June.
I would think it would need to at least be a year after it, at minimum, right? Because it's another big fighting game from them and stuff. And I would imagine they'd use a lot of the technology from Street Fighter to continue that. I see the chat saying Monster Hunter.
Yes, that is the biggest. That's the most obvious. Monster Hunter World came out in 2018. Yeah.
So Monster Hunter World 2 or whatever.
Right.
That's another one.
That would be 6 years, basically 5.5 years from the launch of.
And then we get into what I want.
Yeah. Right.
I want Dead Rising to come back.
Dead Rising?
Would that sell millions?
Well, I mean the other ones did, right?
Yeah. I mean in a big way with the RE engine, everything they're doing now, or they just killed it off and they're just done with it. I feel like the reason I'm thinking a Dead Rising game, because I feel like this trend has happened the last couple of years. We've seen a strengthening of a relationship between Capcom and Microsoft.
Correct.
Exoprimal hit Game Pass day one, right? That was something that happened. I think it's possible, man. I mean, I'm not gonna ever say never on that because it was a big part of Xbox's exclusive games before. Then the crazy thought that's not going to happen is Lost Planet.
Lost Planet, yeah. I mean,
but what if Dino Crisis? But they just released a dinosaur game, so that kind of puts that out, right?
But it did increase the level of potential hype for Dino Crisis because again, it made everybody think when they first saw it that was Dino Crisis. And for the people in chat saying that Dino Crisis wouldn't sell millions, I'm not saying Dino Crisis would sell 10 million. I'm not saying Dino Crisis would sell 8 million. But if you don't think a brand new Dino Crisis would get from Capcom with where they're at now, as far as the respect that people have for them and the hype that people have for Capcom games after what they did with Resident Evils, if they came out with a new Dino Crisis, we don't get dinosaur games anymore. That's why everybody's kind of excited about it.
Yeah. How long was there between Resident Evil 7 and 8?
Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 launched in 2017
In the 8th,
and
2022.
2022, so 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
Or
and they've
2021,
already done like
2021.
2
So 4 years.
3
It was
remakes,
it
you
was
know,
4 years.
4
It launched in
remakes.
2021.
2021. Okay, 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
yeah,
if
it would
they'd
be
be
a little
ready.
soon.
That'd be
Nah.
kind of soon.
I mean, they could have another remake, as people are pointing out as well, right? A Resident Evil remake. I want Code Veronica. Right. I know other people disagree, but obviously we just got Resident Evil 4, but that doesn't mean a smaller Resident Evil game like
I
Code
think they
Veronica
need
couldn't
to
be ready.
take a year off.
I believe so too. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Right. I do. I mean, Lost Planet would be the dark horse in all this, because I don't know if Lost Planet in 2023 would, sure, there'd be a fan base in us, math, like there
Yeah.
is a core fan base. But again, with the competition,
I mean, Dragon's Dogma is already like announced
Dragon,
as well.
yeah,
So
it's
it's like,
announced, and they put out a new little clip of climbing up on a Cyclops that was fantastic. My God,
you think
Dragon's
it could
Dogma
be
2 is
some
gonna be checked in.
new IP? You know, they have that other one that they're doing with Xbox as well, right? But that's already announced. So, man, it's
Okay, Sin Pong, are you seeing an improved relationship between Capcom and Microsoft? I'm not seeing that, because Prime on Game Pass feels like they knew it wouldn't do particularly well on its own, so Game Pass was a safe bet. Yeah, I do see an improved relationship with
they
Xbox
had
and
a brand new
Capcom.
game reveal at their showcase.
Yeah, they had the brand new game reveal at their showcase, Path of the Goddess, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I think that, yeah, I definitely see a strong relationship between Capcom and Xbox. I think Capcom sees Xbox as viable, and brings different options to the table for them, and a different audience. I think Capcom now is in a position where they want to grow their audience again across all platforms, as many platforms as possible. They want to cultivate, and they want people to know that their games are going to be on everything. Even if they continue to sign marketing deals with Sony for their major titles, the fact that Xbox can even get something like the Path of the Goddess revealed at their showcase shows, I think, that they definitely take Xbox seriously and Microsoft seriously. And I think that partnership goes way back. Again, Xbox, according to all the talk, there was a contract on the table. It was almost signed that they were going to own them. So I think that relationship started building back then, and I think that that's one of the main people that they go see when they go in the East. Bandai Namco is another one. Definitely has a strong relationship now with Xbox. So yeah, no, I definitely see that.
When did the last Devil May Cry come out? That was a couple years ago.
Yeah, Devil May Cry. Yeah, that was couple of years ago.
Could
Could be
potentially be a new Devil May Cry entry.
Devil May Cry was 2019. So yeah, 5 years. Could be.
That would probably
Could
sell a
be.
couple million at least.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Devil May Cry is really good. I think there's a lot of potential. I think it's fun to speculate. Again, we saw the leaked, the Nvidia leaked list did include a Power Stone remake at some point. Now people could say, well, would Power Stone sell millions? Done right,
Yeah, I think it could.
it could, for sure.
That was a
Again,
fun
that's
fighting game. It was
that
unique too.
yeah, very, very unique. And that space isn't filled. That style isn't filled with a bunch of different. I mean, sure, there's different options out there, but Power Stone brought it differently too. So if they kept that formula and just brought it up to date, Power Stone was an incredible fighter that so many people missed out on. Like, yeah, I think it would have a space.
So I got a crazy thought.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Back in the day, growing up, Mega Man was just insanely one of these most popular franchises, and insanely hard, and
Correct.
just great
Yep.
franchise, and we all look forward
Yep.
to the next one and all this kind of
Metroidvania.
stuff.
Yep.
So Mega Man, what if now that Capcom's on top of the world and they're doing so good, they took it upon themselves to finally go in and find a way to, instead of just doing all these kind of Mega Man type things they've been doing the last several years, bring it up and
Yep.
revitalize the franchise in a new format.
they talked about this. They talked about this recently at one of their investor calls. They said internally they are discussing how to bring Mega Man back. So I don't know if it'd be ready unless they
Right.
said that without not openly discussing it, but they are talking about Mega Man again, which would be huge because there is a huge Mega Man fan base. Now they would have to do it right. In 2023, 2024, they would have to certainly do it right.
What would you
But
envision for
oh, you
like
know,
almost like a Returnal type style,
I
the
don't
hard ass
I don't know if you alienate too much of your original fan base if you go that far away from the formula.
you. I mean, I feel like as long as you stick to the 2D aspect and stuff, you're always going to stay in that realm, right? Of popularity, like as just a lot of people that see these big action games, like
They 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 could go way outside the box and use Metroid Prime as an example
what if it
and
was
go,
Jasper says Dark Souls like Mega Man game. What if it was like
yeah,
Remnant
yeah.
2?
Oh my god.
Like
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Elvin, exactly. It worked for Metroid. That's why I was just saying they could use Metroid Prime though and go
yeah.
first person like route with Mega Man. That'd be pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That'd
you
be
want to
pretty
keep the
crazy.
difficulty high to keep,
Yes.
to keep the
Yes. And
tradition
you
of
want to keep
Mega
the
Man.
Metroidvania elements to it, right? Where you go and fight a boss and it opens up new areas because you get their powers and all. Yeah, you want to keep all that original there. But yeah, they could do something crazy like that. It would work, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. I loved Mega Man as a
Buzz,
character. So
Buzz, I absolutely remember Blue Stinger. I own Blue Stinger day one when it dropped. Blue Stinger, underrated, cool, weird game. Like Blue Stinger was great. Um, very few people. That's Dreamcast. So absolutely. Toy Commander. Buzz, I've been talking about Toy Commander forever. I actually even went at one point and dug into who owns the IP of Toy Commander. Toy Commander was another game that I think if done right today, oh my God, would it be freaking awesome as a competitive multiplayer game? Like it would be so much fun. We used to have such a great time, 4-player split screen on a 27-inch Mitsubishi. I don't know how we did it to this day, sitting on couches. I don't know how we played that way, 4-player split screen, but we did. Toy Commander was freaking awesome on a Dreamcast. My Dreamcast memories go deep. So, um, let's see here. I think, yeah, I don't know, Math. Next March, though, we were going to keep our eyes open. I'm sure there'll be an announcement, obviously prior to then. I can't wait to hear. But I think the lead horse there, Mav, is Monster Hunter World 2, Monster Hunter Universe, whatever they're going to call it. I think that Monster Hunter is, again, they've had the smaller franchise, the smaller versions. But I think Monster Hunter World was such a huge hit that they're going to go back to it again. Obviously, I think it's an obvious thing, and it's been almost 6 years come 2024. So I think Monster Hunter is definitely up there.
yeah.
Yep,
What?
100%.
So Monster. What would you like be your best bet? Monster Hunter.
Yeah, that's the safest bet. 100%.
Okay.
Yep. They've
I'm
been
gonna
working
go out
on
on
it.
a limb and say Dead Rising.
Okay.
Just
I
because
like
I
that one
want
too.
to put the energy out there.
Yep. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's see here. I think that's about it, Mav. We got new man, we had new Armor Core 6, what a 17-minute gameplay reveal this week. Looking freaking
Yeah.
unbelievably good. Again, we don't get enough mech games. Phil is a mech game lover. He talks about the licensing problems with all the mech games. I know you wanted Mech Assault to come back forever, Mav. But Armor Core 6 looks like they're going to make it more accessible for people, but also keep the difficulty, keep the frantic style gameplay to it, and just take everything they've learned as FromSoft has grown through the years with the Dark Souls and Elden Ring and all that, and bring it into Armored Core in certain elements. Of course, you can't do it one for one because it's a mech game. But my God, does it look flashy? Does it look good? It's a cross-gen game. So are there parts of it that still go, I've heard people's discussion about that. I don't care. Again, it's going to be gameplay is key. Customizing your mech. They kept all of that in there. It is a deep, deep customizable system that they had in Armor Cores. It looks like they've kept all that. I can't wait for Armor Core 6. Again, Steel, shout out to Steel. He's calling his game of the year already. He's going to be head deep in Armor Core 6, that's for sure. So I really can't wait for it. I thought it had a great showing. Now, did you watch the gameplay trailer at all?
Yeah, pretty fucking awesome looking.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily like before. It's not necessarily my favorite style of mech game, but it's one that I'm looking forward to giving a shot at some point. I don't know if I'm going to get it day one or not yet, though, because there's so much other stuff, and
it's a
I'm
week
gonna wait.
prior to Starfield.
I know. I'm gonna wait and see what everybody says, and get Starfield coming, and
Yep.
Baldur's Gate 3 will have already launched as well.
Yep.
I've been playing that. I'm still cooked into Diablo, unlike all you guys, and I
I get my season
I've been
value out of it.
yeah, I kind of actually want to go, and I've been waiting for a sale because I already bought this game on Xbox, but
Right.
I want to buy Gotham Knights and play it on
Yeah.
PC.
Sure.
So that way I can actually get through the game and not be
Yep.
annoyed the whole time. Uh, but it's still, let's like 60, $70 or whatever right now. So I'm waiting on a sale for that. If it ends up happening, I'll probably get that on sale and try and play through it before Starfield comes out also.
Whew. A lot to play, Mav. I don't know if you're gonna have time for all that, brother. It's a lot. Armor Core, those 6 I'm getting on PC. If you guys didn't hear, for the first time ever, From Software is going to have a native 120 frames per second on PC. And in that game, every frame counts. So if I do pick it up day one, or if I pick it up down the road, it will be on PC. 100%. That sold me right there. When they said native 120, I'm in. So Armor Core 6 is definitely going to be the biggest selling Armor Core game of all time, which isn't saying a lot. In fact, I think this probably will outsell the entire franchise. The previous 5 iterations of Armor Core combined, I think this one here, just because of From's popularity and because of how good this game looks, I think this will outsell all of that previous franchise together. I'm excited for this to come back, because maybe if this is highly successful, maybe some of those licensing issues magically clear up, Mav, and we start getting more mech games again. Maybe.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I'm all down for more mech games.
That's what drives me crazy. Like, Microsoft, you got so much money, like you can figure out the licensing stuff if you want to.
You would like to think so, wouldn't you? I don't understand.
I mean, nobody's making big money off of the mech name right now enough to not be able to make Microsoft not figure it out. Or how about this crazy idea? You just make a different game similar and you call it something else.
Yes, do that.
I think everybody can read between the lines and see a spiritual successor there of Mech Assault.
Right. Yep.
Like, anyway.
Oh, I want it. I'm all for it. Again, more mech games, bring them. Try to make something happen.
For sure.
Lords of the Fallen extended gameplay today. Confirmed 60 frames for the Xbox Series consoles, both Series consoles, X and S.
That's another Souls-like, right?
Yes, very straight up Souls-like. Straight up Souls-like. And PlayStation 5. So they got confirmed gameplay. Again, I love Soul Games atmosphere. I love their design. I love everything about them except for the frustration level. I won't play this game, but my God, the screenshots, the gameplay looks absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to watch Steel eventually jump into this. I don't think he'll be day one, but this was right up his alley. He'll be jumping into it at some point. I can't wait to watch him play. I know it just looks so great. Man, because Lords of the Fallen was ahead of its curve because Souls games hadn't turned into the popular thing that it is now. No, it wasn't on the same level as from even their early Souls games. Lords of the Fallen was kind of AA version. However, it looks like they're coming back with this one as a AAA budget because of how popular Souls games are. Again, that's what we were just talking about. If Armor Core 6 can show that mech games can be popular, then maybe that'll start a trend. This is why Lords of the Fallen is coming back, and it looks like the developer has put all their effort into this one. Looks simply gorgeous. There's going to be a ton of happy Souls fans, hopefully, on top of already Liza P coming out and all that kind of stuff. Souls fans are eating good this generation. Let's just put it that way. So I'm excited. Oh, there it goes. We got the big storms rolling in.
Yeah. All right. And we'll get out of here.
I was just shook. It caught me off guard there. I was like, what? Oh, that's right. We're getting storms. So let's get everybody out of here. I think we covered a lot of good topics tonight. There's a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws. We'll get more into that. We're going to be getting more Star Wars Outlaws news down the road too. I can't wait. Top of my list next year already. Mav, Star Wars Outlaws. I'm loving everything I'm hearing so far. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, later on. New Battlefield information too. Maybe Mav will get into as that starts to trickle out as well. Great show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, another big turnout, even on a light news week. Great discussions. Again, chat, you guys were off the charts. If you're still here, nothing but love and respect to all of you, whether you were discussing, whether you've been lurking the whole time, hanging out with me and Mav for nearly 3.5 hours. I mean, again, Mav and I just keep putting out massive Thursday nights, even when the topics are small. Him and I love to talk, just like Steele and I do on Saturday morning. So it just works out great. Thank you all for joining us on another episode, PM the PM, episode 81 to be exact. Mav, we got Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. What else is going on, sir?
We're going to have some fun tomorrow night at Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Tune in Mondays for Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern as well. And then back here on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If there's random news or if I feel like it, you might just see a impromptu solo show, a Mavcast or whatever. And we had one where you actually joined me like 2 weeks ago. Paul,
yes.
And that was a blast. But
that was fun.
Yeah, we'll keep our ears to the ground, and maybe there'll be some big news soon because it's been a couple weeks pretty light here.
Anything, we're gonna have tons of games to talk about here coming up. So
yeah,
that's for dang sure.
Where can everybody find the encyclopedia of gaming dating back to the very first game ever created, Pongsel?
Well, everybody. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In fact, Mav, I forgot to tell you pregame. I'm not going to be at Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. So you won't find me there. I got to go have dinner with Mom tomorrow night.
Okay.
So I am rare miss for me. I know. Sorry. And I totally forgot to tell Mav, so I didn't mean to spring it on you, but I do have to go down and see Mom. So that's what I'm going to do. But anyways, otherwise, you know the drill. Obviously, Pongsol on Xbox, Pongsol on Twitter, and Saturday mornings, it all starts at Living Split Screen. That's right. We get your Saturday morning started right. Myself, my brother from another Steel Rain, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there. Yes, we are YouTube partners, but yes, the mission to 1K continues. Steel has been streaming more. He's been streaming a lot of Remnant 2 lately, so check those out. But come join us Saturday morning, Living Split Screen. Tell a friend, bring a friend, be there. 3+ hours, buckle up. We'll get into it just like Mav and I do here. So we have a good time Saturday morning. Please come on by. And then Saturday nights, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel. That's right, Blam, Fuzzy Belvedere, and myself. I don't think we have a guest this week as of yet. We might just be a 3-man show, but no matter what, it's the best place to end your Saturday night. Have us on while you're gaming in the background. Really cool podcast. PTK, one of the best hosts in the business. He lets me and Fuzzy introduce a topic each, so we always have a good time with that. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. The Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel every Saturday night. And then next week, it starts all over again. Xbox Factor Podcast every Tuesday. All good things green. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. Mr. 13K subs now. Boomstick, be there every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time for Xbox Factor. And back here again, you know the drill, Thursday night, PM in the PM, where Mav and I get together and have a good time for a couple, 2-3 hours. So anyways, it's a golden age of gaming, people. Please get out there. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the beginning of your weekend. I'll talk to you real soon. Play what you love. Love what you play. There's a lot to do right now. Have a good one. Mav, get us out of here.
Have a good one, everybody. 3-bit.
3-bit.
Switch to dark mode, bro. Light mode's trash.
Dark mode. Yep.
Yeah. Hurts your eyes. Peace.
Peace.
Oh.